Chapter 27. Cousin, do you think I don't want to capture the crown prince's heart? But he's been lukewarm to me recently. I can't figure out what he's thinking. Yi Shanshan said with a face full of grievance. The crown prince used to be gentle and considerate to her, but now he was like a different person. He's been busy recently. Su Junqing said a lie that even he didn't believe. In fact, the reason for the crown prince's change of attitude was because Yi Shanshan pushed Yi Jiuge into the abyss. Although Yi Shanshan refused to admit it, everyone in Shangjing was smart. Who didn't know about the Yi family? If the crown prince continued to get close to Yi Shanshan, it would be true that he murdered his fiancée. This was the main reason he alienated Yi Shanshan. Cousin, you don't have to comfort me. I know the crown prince's heart. How about I give the position of princess to eldest sister? As long as I can stay by the crown prince's side, I'm willing to be a concubine. This was her mother's idea. She always felt that doing this would make Yi Jiuge a head shorter, so she was unwilling. But now it seemed that she had to do it. It's good that you think like this. Su Junqing nodded approvingly and said, after this disaster, Yi Jiuge's temperament has changed. It will be difficult for you to deal with her. You can only give in to her and treat her well. When she lets down her guard, you can surprise her and give her a fatal blow. This is the best way. Like dealing with Fifth Yin? Yi Shanshan smiled meaningfully. That's right. Su Junqing nodded and whispered, you have to hurry up with Yi Rui's matter. You must finish it before uncle returns. Cousin, don't worry. Little sister knows what to do. Yi Shanshan nodded and a vicious light flashed in her eyes. In Purple Forest Park, Mother Qing was reporting the news to Yi Jiuge. Eldest Miss, young Master Su didn't stay long in Ink Water Park. After Madame was released from confinement, she had her maid Jihua send a lot of good tonics to Autumn Water Park. Fifth Yin was very happy after receiving it and gave Jihua a big pouch. It said that she stuffed 10 taels of silver into it. When you sent Qing Hu and Qing Lu over, didn't Fifth Yin reward you? Yi Jiuge asked. She did. Mother Qing took the initiative to take out her pouch, also 10 taels of silver. Fifth Madam is really generous. Yi Jiuge smiled. In the past, the fifth aunt didn't even have a copper coin to reward the servants in that shabby courtyard. Now, she was rewarded with silver. It seemed that Yi Yuxuan treated her quite well. Master is currently giving fourth miss and fifth concubine a monthly allowance of 50 silver taels. I heard that he has also rewarded them with a lot of good things. Mother Qing said. No wonder the fifth concubine is so generous. By the way, what else did the crown prince say besides pleading for Madam? With the crown prince's personality, he would not run over to plead on Su Yufeng's behalf. He must have come with a serious matter and then pretended to casually mention Su Yufeng's matter. I heard that a young master of a big family is sick. His Highness the Crown Prince wants to invite Master to personally help that young master refine a pill. Mother Qing said. Where are they from? Yi Jiuge raised his eyebrows. For Yi Yuxuan, who had a high opinion of himself, to come and help them refine pills, that great aristocratic family should have a different reaction. This old servant is ashamed that I didn't manage to find out. Although Mother Qing had picked up a lot of connections during this period of time, the main courtyard had not yet trained a capable person, so the information she could find out was very limited. This matter is not urgent. You just need to pay more attention in the future. Right now, the most important thing is to let Qing Hu and Qing Lu quickly take root in Qiushui Yuan. No matter what happens, you must report it immediately. Yi Jiuge said seriously. The few things that happened recently were too coincidental. She suspected that there was something fishy going on. Eldest Miss, don't worry. Qing Lu and Qing Hu are very smart. They will definitely help you keep a close eye on Qiushui Yuan. Mother Qing was very confident in the people that she had trained. However, she didn't expect that Qing Hu and Qing Lu would get into trouble a few days after they went to Qiushui Yuan. Eldest Miss, it's not good. Mother Qiu said that Qing Hu and Qing Lu stole something and was about to send them to the torture room. Jinzhu came in with a face full of panic. Eldest Miss, this must be a trap set by Mother Qiu. Qing Hu and Qing Lu would not do such a thing. Mother Qing quickly said, let's go take a look first. Yi Jioge brought Mother Qing to Qiu Shui Yuan. As soon as they entered, they saw Qing Hu and Qing Lu kneeling in the central room with red eyes from crying. Especially Qing Lu. There was a red handprint on her face and half of her face was swollen. The charges haven't been set yet. Who told you to kneel? Yi Jioge saw the situation and got angry. He asked Qing Lu, who slapped them? Qing Lu looked timidly at Mother Qiu. Eldest miss, this is a family matter of Qiu Shui Yuan. Please don't interfere. Give 5th Yin and 4th miss some face. Mother Qiu bowed at the side and said indifferently. Does 5th Yin also think that this is your family matter? Yi Jioge narrowed his eyes and said to 5th Yin. 5th Yin was suddenly in a difficult position. She looked at Mother Qiu and said in a negotiating tone, how about we let these 2 servant girls stand up first before we talk? 5th Yin, nothing can be accomplished without rules. These 2 servant girls have committed the crime of theft as soon as they came to our courtyard. If you don't punish them heavily, I'm afraid the servants in this courtyard will become lawless. Qiu Mama said with a pained heart. Mother Qiu really has a big tone. If I didn't know better, I would think you were the master of Qiu Shui Yuan. Yi Jioge sneered. Eldest Miss's words are too harsh. This old servant really can't take it. Mother Qiu first bowed in fear and trepidation. Then she straightened her back and said, it's just that master sent this old servant to help 5th Yin manage the house. Naturally, I have to do my best. If eldest miss is dissatisfied, feel free to tell master. Mother Qiu was impassioned and used Yushuan as a sign everywhere. 5th Yin sat at the side with a difficult expression. From beginning to end, she didn't mention Qing Hu and Qing Lu to defend themselves. Yi Jioge was very disappointed with 5th Yin's attitude. Although 5th Yin could have some pride in adversity, it was all gone after being soaked in sugar water. Yi Yushuan had only given her a bit of sweetness and she had completely forgotten all the bitterness and hatred from before. In order to curry favor with Yi Yushuan, she didn't even dare to offend Mother Qiu. The more she lived, the worse she became. Since 5th Yin couldn't understand, she didn't need to give 5th Yin face. She directly turned to Qing Lu and Qing Hu and said, get up and tell this young miss. What did they falsely accuse you of stealing? When Qing Hu and Qing Lu heard Yi Jioge's words, they immediately stood up and cried, eldest miss, this servant is innocent. This servant also doesn't know how Sister Xinghua's golden butterfly hairpin appeared in this servant's chest. Chapter 28. Who is Xinghua? Yi Jioge frowned slightly. She thought that 5th Yin and Yi Rui's things were stolen. Sister Xinghua is the head servant in the same room as this servant. Qing Lu quickly said, bring her up and let me take a look. Where did this head servant come from to be so powerful? Yi Jioge looked at 5th Yin with a smile that wasn't a smile. 5th Yin instructed Mother Qiu, bring Xinghua up. Mother Qiu nodded her head unwillingly and quickly brought Xinghua up. Yi Jioge originally thought that Xinghua should be a smart-looking servant girl, but she didn't expect her to look so simple and honest. Square face, thick eyebrows, thick lips, and a smart look. She was like a village girl that popped out from some dirt. When Xinghua saw Yi Jioge, she knelt on the ground in fright and quickly said, eldest young lady, please spare my life. This servant also doesn't know how my butterfly gold hairpin got to Sister Qing Lu. You are a head servant girl, where did you get such a good gold hairpin? Could it be that 5th Yin rewarded you? She didn't believe that 5th Yin would be generous enough to reward a servant girl. No, this butterfly gold hairpin was bestowed to this servant by master. Xinghua quickly said. Really? Yi Jioge was taken aback. She sized up Xinghua again. This short and stout figure and simple and honest appearance did not look like Yi Yushuan's cup of tea no matter how she looked at it. Eldest young lady, this butterfly gold hairpin was indeed bestowed to Xinghua by master. 5th Yin probably guessed Yi Jioge's thoughts and explained awkwardly. So this Xinghua's father was Yi Yushuan's bodyguard. One year, Yi Yushuan went deep into the mountains to pick herbs and accidentally provoked a group of rank 1 white fur wolf beasts. Xinghua's father sacrificed himself to protect him. Before he died, the only thing he was worried about was his daughter, Xinghua. In order to show his benevolence, Yi Yuxuan let Xinghua into the residence. If Xinghua was a bit pretty, he might accept her as a concubine. Unfortunately, Xinghua looked as honest as her father. Yi Yuxuan bestowed her a butterfly gold hairpin and let her work for Mother Qiu. Xinghua had always treated this golden hairpin as a treasure and would show it off to everyone she met. After Qing Hu and Qing Lu moved in, she told them the story of the hairpin. The two younger sisters, Qing Hu and Qing Lu, kept praising my hairpin. All the servant girls in the courtyard heard it. Xinghua said softly. Qing Lu really wanted to say that she was just being polite. However, she knew that it was useless to say all this. Making a big fuss would only make the young Miss lose face. She believed that Missy and Mother Qing would definitely clear her name. So, you didn't see Qing Lu take your hairpin with your own eyes? Yi Jioga raised his eyebrows and asked. Oh no. Xinghua quickly shook her head and said, this servant found that the hairpin was missing last night. Auntie Qiu helped this servant search for it and finally found it in Qing Lu's box. And then? Yi Jioga asked with a sullen face. Then what then? Xinghua asked foolishly. Her square face was just short of writing the word, simple-minded. Yi Jioga was now sure that this clumsy plot was all arranged by Auntie Qiu and Xinghua was just used as a tool. Mrs. Qiu stood to the side, her eyes looking at her nose looking at her heart, as if this matter had nothing to do with her. She purposely chose Xinghua's butterfly gold hairpin to frame Qing Lu because she wanted to make a big deal out of it. It would be best if it could reach the ears of the master. At that time, even if Yi Jioga helped Qing Hu and Qing Lu clear their names, they wouldn't be able to stay in the Yi residence. Auntie Qiu, Qing Lu's house isn't an iron wall. If someone deliberately went in to frame her, wouldn't you be wronging a good person by convicting them so easily? Yi Jioga said coldly to Auntie Qiu. Missy, Xinghua's hairpin was indeed found in Qing Lu's box. Auntie Qiu said respectfully. Yi Jioga couldn't be bothered to say more to this old cunning servant. Her lips curled into a sarcastic smile and she asked Fifth Yang, what do you think? The fifth aunt felt inexplicably guilty. She avoided Yi Jioga's gaze, coughed softly and said, Mrs. Qiu, I think this should be a misunderstanding. Maybe Xinghua accidentally dropped the hairpin, and Qing Lu picked it up and put it in the box and forgot to return it to her. That caused the misunderstanding. In fact, Fifth Yang also knew that today's matter was Auntie Qiu randomly finding an excuse to drive Qing Hu and Qing Lu away. If it was in the past, she would definitely protect these two maidservants. But the madam came to visit Rui the day before yesterday and personally promised to let Rui learn alchemy from Yi Shanshan's master. Yi Yuxuan was usually busy and didn't have time to teach his daughter, so he specially hired a knowledgeable female master to teach Yi Shanshan alchemy. For Rui's future, she could only wrong Qing Hu and Qing Lu, these two maidservants. So that's how it is. Qing Lu, you silly girl, why didn't you tell Mother in advance when you picked them up? You caused Mother to misunderstand you. Auntie Qiu immediately followed Fifth Yang's tone and said. Qing Lu didn't expect Auntie Qiu to change her words and looked at Yi Jioga helplessly. Yi Jioga was about to refute Fifth Yang's nonsense, but she suddenly found something wrong with Qing Lu. She looked carefully and found a thin black line between Qing Lu's eyebrows, as if she was poisoned. She then looked at Qing Hu, there was also a black line between her eyebrows. If she hadn't been cultivating her spiritual eye recently and had extraordinary eyesight, she probably wouldn't have been able to see it. Looks like this is indeed a misunderstanding. My two maidservants are really insensible and have caused trouble for Fifth Yang. I will also leave them here to embarrass myself. Goodbye. Yi Jioga didn't wait for Fifth Yang to reply and stood up to say to Auntie Qing, bring them back. With that, she walked towards the door. Auntie Qing hurriedly brought Qing Hu and Qing Lu to follow. When they returned to Purple Forest Park, Auntie Qing angrily said, eldest young miss, if this old servant knew that Fifth Yang was so biased towards Auntie Qiu, I wouldn't have let Qing Hu and Qing Lu suffer such grievances. Auntie Qing, eldest young miss, elder sister didn't steal anything, nor did she pick up that hairpin. It was all them who falsely accused elder sister. Qing Hu's eyes were red as she tried to defend her elder sister, Qing Lu. Of course I know that they are falsely accusing you, but what I don't understand is why they still wanted to poison you too. Yi Jioga said solemnly. This was the reason why she didn't cause a ruckus and instead followed Fifth Yang's words and left. Poison? What poison? Qin Hu and Qin Lu were at a loss. Sit down and place your hands on the table. Yi Jioga pointed to a chair. Qin Hu and Qin Lu obediently sat down on the side of the chair and placed their hands on the table. Yi Jioga then took the pulse of the two maidservants and discovered that the poison they were inflicted with wasn't simple. It was the colorless and odorless mandarin duck poison. Although this poison wasn't as rare as the void dream poison that his mother refined, it was still worth tens of carriages of silver. It was too wasteful to use it on two maidservants. Chapter 29. Eldest young Miss, Qin Hu and Qin Lu were really poisoned? Qin Mama asked in disbelief. They were poisoned by mandarin duck poison. This poison is colorless and odorless. It doesn't have much effect if used alone, but if it is used on two people who live and eat together, the toxicity will be doubled. When they will die silently. Even a doctor would have a hard time finding the cause. Yi Jioga stopped. Seeing Qin Mama and the two servant girls pale with fright, she comforted them. You don't have to worry. Although this poison is powerful, the antidote isn't hard to make. Tomorrow, I will bring back 2 batches of medicine to refine. That's good. Qin Mama let out a sigh of relief, but still felt it was unbelievable. Why would someone poison these 2 servant girls without any reason? The conflict between them and Qiu Mama wasn't so bad that someone would die. You have to ask Qin Hu and Qin Lu. Yi Jioga's beautiful eyes flashed and fell on Qin Hu and Qin Lu. Eldest young miss, this servant doesn't know either. Qin Hu and Qin Lu shook their heads in panic. Eldest young miss, they only went to Qiu Shui Yuan for 10 days. Even if they became enemies, it wouldn't be this fast. These 2 servant girls were personally trained by Qin Mama. She knew their temperament very well. Qin Hu was lively, sweet talker, and sensitive. Qin Lu was steady and the most mature. The 2 of them could endure and see other people's faces. How could they attract such a disaster? Yi Jioga pondered for a moment before asking, did you see something you shouldn't have, so someone wanted to silence you? This was the most likely reason she could think of. Qin Hu and Qin Lu's expressions were even more confused. They rarely went to the entrance of Qiu Shui Yuan. What kind of shocking secret could they see? Yi Jioga saw that the 2 servant girls didn't know anything and could only say, forget it. Go and rest first. Come and report to me if you think of anything. Qin Hu and Qin Lu were indeed tired after a day of fright. They bowed to Yi Jioga and left. Qin Mama, keep a close eye on Qiu Shui Yuan. Yi Jioga had a premonition that Qiu Shui Yuan wouldn't be peaceful. Su Yufeng was definitely preparing to attack Fifth Yang and her daughter, so she hurriedly drove Qin Hu and Qin Lu out. This old servant understands. Mother Qing solemnly nodded. She also felt that the matter between Qin Hu and Qin Lu this time was unusual. Mother Qing personally followed them, but she didn't expect that the days in Qiushui Garden were very peaceful. After Su Yufeng's house arrest was lifted, she became the dignified and generous madam from before. Not only did she often send gifts to Qiushui Garden, but she also asked Yi Shanshan to personally teach Yi Rui the basics of alchemy. The 2 sisters were very happy. In addition to roping in Fifth Yang and her daughter, Su Yufeng and her mother also kept conveying goodwill to Yi Jioga. They sent Jihua to send things over several times. Although it wasn't anything precious, there were still many ingenious designs. It could be seen that it had been meticulously prepared. Yi Jioga accepted the gifts and gave them back with a black face. As soon as Jihua stepped out of the door, she threw everything away. Especially the food, Yi Jioga repeatedly told them not to let cats and dogs eat it, in case it poisoned innocent little lives. Yi Jioga had originally thought that his actions would anger Su Yufeng and her daughter, but he hadn't expected that there would be no movement from Ink Garden. The gifts were still delivered as usual. The more Su Yufeng and her mother acted like this, the more vigilant Yi Jioga became. That night, Yi Jioga was refining the antidote for the mandarin duck poison in the alchemy room. Qing Lu and Qing, who were deeply poisoned and had to be divided into 3 portions to be completely detoxified. When she finished refining the antidote, the sky was already dark. There was a row of lights in the hand-copying corridor. Zhenju was guarding outside with an 8 treasures palace lantern. When she saw her come out, she carried the lantern and led the way. When Yi Jioge walked towards the house, her heart suddenly moved. Someone was following her. Yi Jioge secretly opened her spiritual eye and pretended to casually sweep her surroundings, but she didn't find anything strange. Could it be that she was imagining things? She was puzzled and secretly called out in her heart, "Zi Shang, Zi Shang." Unfortunately, Zi Shang didn't give her any response. Ever since this guy gave her the cultivation technique to open her spiritual eye, he disappeared without a trace. He didn't even come to take his reward. It really wasn't his style. However, Yi Jioge wasn't worried that something would happen to him. That guy was a demon. Even if everyone in the world died, nothing would happen to him. "Young miss, there is a doorway here. Please be careful." Zhenju lowered the 8 treasures palace lantern and illuminated the doorway in front of her. Yi Jioge lifted her foot and walked over, but she found a figure flashing by in the afterglow of the lantern. It was simply like a ghost. Her heart suddenly jumped, but her face remained calm. After returning to the house, she drank a bowl of almond milk. "Young miss, the hot water is ready. How about this servant help you wash up now?" Zhenju took the empty bowl from Yi Jioge's hands and asked. "Later, I'm a little tired. I want to rest for a while." Yi Jioge refused Mother Qing and Zhenju's service and returned to the house. Just as she stepped into the house, she immediately raised a purple spiritual light towards the empty corner on the left. It was unknown what the purple light hit, but it burst out with a brilliant light. The purple light in Yi Jioge's hands became even brighter. Just as she was about to attack again, she heard a clear voice helplessly say, "Young miss, how did you see through my invisibility technique?" With that said, a gray light flashed in the corner, revealing a stunning face. The black night clothes made him look tall and straight. His white jade-like skin shined under the light. The red mole between his eyebrows added a lot of color to his face. He was Yi Jioge's male slave, the assassin Yiyu. This young miss naturally has her own methods. As for you, if you came back, then come back. Why are you sneakily following behind me? When Yi Jioge saw that it was Yiyu, although her heart was somewhat relaxed, her mouth was still unforgiving. "Be careful that I kill you as an assassin. Young miss is wrongly accused. I can't possibly show myself in front of your servant." Yiyu only spoke half of the truth. Last time, when his whereabouts was seen through by Yi Jioge's spiritual eye, he was unconvinced. He felt that he did not perform well during the day, so he wanted to test him again at night. He did not expect that he would be seen through by Yi Jioge again. This time, even if he was unconvinced, there was no other way. "You've been gone for so long, did you find anything?" Yi Jioge sat down at the table and poured herself a cup of tea to drink. Yiyu, this fellow, had been gone for more than 10 days without any news. She was really afraid that he had been captured by the Crown Prince and Su Junqing. "I found it." Yiyu's expression was heavy as he took out a letter from his bosom and handed it to Yi Jioge. He said in a hoarse voice, "This is a letter that my sister secretly sent. Please take a look." "You found your sister?" Yi Jioge received the letter in shock. "No, I followed the Yi clan's unique secret code and found an abandoned mansion. However, there was no one inside. I only found this letter in a secret compartment." Yiyu shook his head. When he first discovered the secret code, he was worried that it might be a trap. Fortunately, his sister did not disappoint him. "What a pity." Yi Jioge shook his head and opened the letter that Yi Yunji left behind. With just one look, his expression changed. Chapter 30. Yi Jioge read Yi Yunji's letter carefully again, and then asked Yiyu with a serious face, "Is what your sister said in the letter true?" "She doesn't need to lie." Yiyu's dark eyes looked straight at Yi Jioge, and a trace of pain flashed across his handsome face. "That Su Junqing really deserves to die." Yi Jioge heavily slammed the letter on the table. Although she heard Zishang say that the cultivation method of bewitchment was very evil, she didn't expect it to be this evil. He didn't even let go of a 7-year-old girl. It was simply insane. She just didn't know if the Crown Prince and Su Yufeng knew that Su Junqing wanted to use Yi Rui to cultivate the bewitchment. What does eldest miss plan to do? Yi Yu came back to discuss with her. A letter alone can't shake the foundation of the Su family. However, I have already guessed who Su Junqing's next target is. You stay in Qiushui Yuan during this period of time. You must not let his plot succeed. Yi Zhouge told him about how Su Junqing had used the bewitching spell on 5th concubine. Beast. Yi Yu's eyes became incomparably cold. When he thought that Su Junqing used this method to harm his sister, he couldn't wait to kill him. Heaven's net has a long way to go, he will be caught one day. Yi Zhouge's face was as cold as ice. Su Junqing's bewitchment must have harmed a lot of people. She would catch him sooner or later. There's no time to lose. I'll go to Qiushui Yuan now. Yi Yu's figure flashed and disappeared. Yi Zhouge carefully put away Yi Yunji's letter and was about to call Mother Qing and Pearl to come in to help her wash, when she suddenly heard a noise outside. It seemed to come from the direction of Qiushui Yuan. Could it be that Yi Yu found something when he went there? She was about to go out, but she saw Pearl walking in a panic and said repeatedly, "Eldest miss, it's bad, it's bad." Yi Zhouge frowned and quickly asked, "Who's in trouble?" "It's 5th Yin-yang." Pearl took a breath and then said, "They said that 5th Yin-yang was caught in bed." What? Yi Zhouge was really surprised this time and quickly asked, "What the hell is going on?" "This servant also doesn't know. I only heard that Madame suddenly brought people to seal up Qiushui Yuan and didn't allow anyone to enter or leave. Right now, Mother gone from the torture room is rushing over there. I'm afraid that 5th concubine is in danger." This news was secretly sent to Purple Forest Yuan by Mother Gone. Ever since Yi Zhouge displayed her prowess in the torture chamber, Mother Gone has been trying to please her. This time, he had risked defending Madame by delivering such an important piece of news to her as a proof of allegiance. Yi Zhouge remembered Mother Gone's kindness, but the most important thing now was to get 5th concubine out. Su Yufeng had been dormant for so long. Once she made a move, she would definitely go all out. She had to stabilize the situation as soon as possible. Yi Zhouge took Mother Qing, Zhenju, Qing Hu and Qing Lu, and hurriedly walked towards Qiushui Yuan. Qiushui Garden was brightly lit, and a group of sturdy old maids surrounded the gate of the courtyard, looking as if they were going to confiscate the house. Mother Zhang stood at the front. She had been beaten half to death by Yi Zhouge last time, but it was a blessing in disguise that she had succeeded in advancing. Now that she was half a step into the realm of spirit practitioner, she was in high spirits. Seeing Yi Zhouge and the others coming over, Mother Zhang's eyes flashed with hatred. She stepped forward and shouted, "Madam has ordered, no one is allowed to enter." "Dog slave, who are you? How dare you stop our family's eldest miss?" Was the lesson last time not enough? When Mother Qing saw Mother Zhang, new hatred and old hatred surged in her heart. No need to talk nonsense with her. Yi Zhouge's expression was cold. She didn't have time to tangle with these jumping clowns. "Eldest miss, this kind of filthy thing is not worthy of you. This old servant is enough." Mother Qing stopped Yi Zhouge, who was about to make a move, and walked towards Mother Zhang. "A waste dares to be presumptuous in front of me." In Mother Zhang's eyes, Mother Qing is not even a green onion. As soon as Mother Zhang's voice fell, she saw Mother Qing punch her in the abdomen at lightning speed. Mother Zhang hugged her stomach and fell to the ground. She was in so much pain that she kept gasping. "Mother Zhang." The few old maids who surrounded her quickly stepped forward to help her up, but they were all punched by Mother Qing. Zhenju was stunned. She didn't expect Mother Qing to be so powerful. Yi Zhouge knew that in the past, Yun Tianwei felt sorry for his daughter's weak body, so the servants he chose were all qualified to practice martial arts. Because Mother Qing was loyal to her master, she obtained a set of blue cloud fist technique, which was much more powerful than Mother Zhang, who only ran amok in the backyard. If she hadn't been poisoned and lost her cultivation, she wouldn't have been bullied by Mother Zhang. Seeing that the road ahead was clear, Yi Zhouge took Zhenju, Qing Hu, and Qing Lu to Autumn Water Garden. When he passed by Mother Zhang, he kicked her waist. Mother Zhang's newly formed spiritual sea was instantly destroyed. Her eyes turned white, and she fainted. If you don't court death, you won't die. This was the kind of person she was. When Su Yufeng heard the sound of fighting outside, she quickly came out with Yi Shanshan. When she saw Yi Jioge, her slender and perfect eyebrows immediately frowned, and she asked unhappily, "Jioge, what are you doing?" "I also want to ask, madam, what are you doing?" The corner of Yi Jioge's mouth hooked up, his eyes swept over the crowd in the yard, and he sneered, "This posture, is it possible that you are here to confiscate the house? What nonsense are you talking about? Fifth concubine's behavior is improper and she has an affair with someone. I am here to interrogate her on behalf of the master." Su Yufeng's expression was dignified, and her eyes were cold as she said, "You are an unmarried girl, it is not suitable for you to listen to such filthy things. Hurry up and go back." Madam's words are really ridiculous. Could it be that second sister is married? Why can she listen to me but not me? Yi Jioge raised his eyebrows. She wants to drive me away with just a few words? No way. You are the one who is married. Yi Shanshan glared at him and was about to get angry, but she was stopped by Su Yufeng. "Forget it. If you want to see, then come in together. We can also discuss how to deal with fifth concubine." Su Yufeng pulled Yi Shanshan and turned to Autumn Water Garden. Yi Jioge followed them into the hall, glanced around, and did not see fifth concubine and Yi Rui. Where are they? Fifth concubine realized that the affair was exposed, so she locked the room. "We were just about to break the door when you came. Rui is young, this kind of thing does not need her to come," Su Yufeng said as she walked to the front of fifth concubine's room. There stood 7 or 8 sturdy female servants, who were about to break the door. "Break!" Su Yufeng ordered before Yi Jioge could. All the female servants answered in unison, and took a big wooden block and slammed it hard against the mahogany door. The 2 doors slammed against the wall with a loud bang. Yi Jioge and Su Yufeng walked into the room at the same time, but the situation inside surprised both of them. Chapter 31. He saw that fifth concubine's room was in a mess with cups and teacups scattered all over the floor. Looking further inside, there was actually a tall and sturdy man lying at the door of the inner room. He looked to be in his early 30s and his facial features could be considered regular. At this moment, his eyes were closed and the green robe on his body had been torn apart by more than half. On his waist, there was a black belt inlaid with jasper that was slightly loose. Not far from the man, there was a woman with messy hair lying on her back. Her face was pale and her eyes were closed. The jasper hairpin on her head was tilted to one side. It was fifth concubine. Seeing that fifth concubine's clothes were undamaged, Yi Jioge heaved a sigh of relief. If the 2 of them were having an affair, then even if she had the ability to do so, she would not be able to save fifth concubine. However, Su Yufeng frowned as this was not in accordance with the plan. When she entered, the 2 of them should have been lying on the bed. How could they have fainted? However, it did not matter as this could be considered as catching the adulterer in bed. Su Yufeng shouted, "Come, tie up this shameless adulterer and adulterer for me." Wait. Yi Jioge raised his hand to stop the female servants who were about to rush over. His eyes looked at the man and fifth concubine before finally looking straight at Su Yufeng and said, "You said that they were having an affair. But why do I feel that this thief had ill intentions towards fifth concubine and was finally beaten to the ground?" "Jioge, aren't you lying with your eyes wide open?" Su Yufeng sneered and said, "Our Yi residence's inner courtyard is heavily guarded. How could a man come in to commit a crime? This adulterer was clearly brought in by fifth concubine." "Madam, you need to speak with evidence. You said that this criminal was brought in by fifth concubine. Could it be that you saw it with your own eyes?" Yi Jioge raised his eyebrows and asked, "Why do I need to see it with my own eyes? There are so many people in Qiushui Yuan who have eyes." Su Yufeng snorted and ordered Mother Gan, who was standing in the corner, "Lock up all the servants in Qiushui Yuan and interrogate them. See if any of them have seen this adulterer." Mother Gan bowed and complied. Then, she led the female servants of the torture room and rushed out like wolves and tigers, locking up all the female servants of Qiushui Garden. Yi Jioge seemed to be watching coldly, but in reality, He had secretly opened his spiritual eye to search for traces of Yi Yu. However, she could not find Yi Yu after looking around the house. She did not know where he had run off to at such a critical moment. At this time, Gon's mother came in with another mother. Yi Jioga recognized that the mother's surname was Wang. She was one of the elders that Su Yufeng had left behind in Autumn Water Garden. It seemed that Su Yufeng had already made arrangements. "Madam, Mother Wang has already confessed. She said that this man was brought in by her fifth concubine." Mother Gon bowed and reported, "Mother Wang, tell me clearly. How did fifth concubine order you to bring him in?" Su Yufeng lowered her eyes, and a sharp light flashed in her eyes. "Madam, please understand. I was forced by Madam Wu to bring her in." Mother Wang said with tears and snot. So this man was fifth concubine, who was fifth concubine's distant cousin. Before fifth concubine was sold into the Yi residence, she had always been living in his house and had a deep relationship with him. Previously, when fifth concubine was in dire straits, she did not dare to contact him. However, ever since she relied on her daughter to become rich, she thought of this cousin day and night. Not only did she secretly send him a lot of money, she even took advantage of the time when the master was out to threaten Mother Wang to bring the adulterer in. According to what Mother Wang said, fifth concubine should trust you a lot. Then why does she never let you serve by her side? Yi Jioga sneered. Although fifth concubine tried to curry favor with Su Yufeng, she was also worried that she would be plotted against. Thus, she only left Mother Qiu, Xinghua and Peach Blossom, who were sent by Yi Yuxuan to serve by her side. Mother Qiu had previously caught a cold and had already asked for leave to recuperate. This is because fifth concubine is deliberately distancing herself from this servant. She is afraid that others will find out about this errand that she asked this servant to do. Mother Wang did not dare to look at Yi Jioga. She immediately turned to Su Yufeng and said, "Madam, Xinghua has also seen this adulterer. If you don't believe me, you can summon her to ask." Xinghua was famous for being simple-minded and never lied. "Okay, let Xinghua come up." Su Yufeng nodded. Xinghua was immediately brought up. Her honest and sincere square face was filled with confusion. She completely did not understand what had happened. "Xinghua, let me ask you. Have you seen this man before?" Su Yufeng pointed to the man who was still unconscious and asked. Xinghua stared at the man carefully with her big eyes. Then she shook her head and said, replying to Madam, "This servant has not seen this man before. Look more carefully. Even if you have not seen this man's face, you might have seen the clothes and jewelry on his body." Su Yufeng's words were simply a blatant hint. Xinghua stared with her eyes wide open. This time, her expression finally changed. It was obvious that she had discovered something. Seeing this, Su Yufeng slammed the table and pointed at her and scolded, "Bold Xinghua! You actually dare to deceive this madam. Come, take her away and whip her 10 times. Let's see if she confesses or not. Madam, please spare my life. This servant also just discovered it." Chapter 32. What? Yi Jioga was shocked and quickly asked Qing Lu, "When did you see it in Fifth Yang's room?" "Just 3 days ago." Qing Lu carefully told the situation at that time. At that time, she and Qing Hu just came to Qiushui Yuan and wanted to build a good relationship with the maids, so they often helped them to do what they could. Her roommate, Xinghua, was responsible for cleaning Fifth Yang's inner room. That day, Xinghua was not feeling well, so Qing Lu volunteered to help her clean. But not long after entering Fifth Yang's inner room, Qiu Mama came in angrily and drove her away. She also scolded Xinghua. Later, Xinghua did not dare to let anyone help her clean. At that time, this servant only took a glance at the table and vaguely saw a black object inlaid with green jade. Before I could take a closer look, I was chased out by Qiu Mama. Just now, after listening to Sister Xinghua's words, I then remembered that it was a belt tied around a man's waist. "Qiu Mama?" Yi Jioga suddenly frowned. She did not expect that this matter was related to Qiu Mama. She did not believe that Yi Yuxuan would let Qiu Mama help Su Yufeng to frame Fifth Yang for having an affair. No wonder Qiu Mama wanted to poison me. It turned out to be because of this. Qing Lu did not expect that Chiu Mama would make a move on them because of such a small matter. She was really hateful and scared. Chiu Mama pretended to be sick and resting because she did not want people to suspect her. It is normal to want to kill you. I just don't know what means Madam used to make Chiu Mama help her. Yi Jioga was thoughtful. Chiu Mama was an old person by Yi Yuxuan's side. She had always been loyal. If Su Yufeng did not have a big handle on her, she would not help her. It seemed that it was necessary to carefully investigate this Chiu Mama. Eldest Miss, Chiu Mama deliberately put the belt in Fifth Yinyang's room for Xinghua to see. It was to confirm the rumor that Fifth Yinyang had an affair. What should we do? Qing Lu looked worried. Everyone in Yi Mansion knew that Xinghua was simple and did not lie, so Chiu Mama deliberately set this trap. Act according to the circumstances. Su Yufeng had planned for a long time. She must have arranged it flawlessly. She could not find any flaws at the moment. But fortunately, fifth concubine was not lying on the bed with that man, so the situation was not too bad. Let's see what Su Yufeng will do before resolving it. Just as Yi Jioga was about to bring Qing Lu back to the house, he heard the voices of the servants coming from outside the courtyard. This servant greets master. In the next moment, Yi Yuxuan appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. He was travel-worn and his face was as black as the bottom of a pot. However, anyone who knew that while he was working hard outside, his concubine at home had made him a cuckold would not be happy. Father! Yi Jioga calmly called out. Why you here? Yi Yuxuan frowned. Seeing Yi Jioga, his mood became even worse. I heard that Madame Wu's place was robbed, so I specially came over to take a look, Yi Jioga said with a worried expression. Stolen? Yi Yuxuan was stunned. Didn't they say that the fifth aunt was caught having an affair? How did it become a thief? Lord, don't listen to Jioga's nonsense. She has always been on good terms with Fifth Yinyang, so she will naturally speak up for her. When Su Yufeng came out and heard Yi Jioga's words, she immediately became incomparably angry. So it turned out that Yi Jioga, this damned girl, was specifically waiting here to complain. What a good scheme. Is that so? Why did I hear that Madam and fourth younger sister have been on better terms with fifth aunt than me recently? I heard that father even praised you. Yi Jioga's mouth curled up, and her smile was very sarcastic. Big sister, I know that you want to help fifth aunt get off the hook, but you don't have to drag my mother into this. Yi Shanshan said angrily. Before she came out, her mother had repeatedly told her not to speak carelessly, but after holding it in for a day, she really couldn't hold it in any longer. Second younger sister, what do you mean? Could it be that Madam also had an affair? Yi Jioga covered her mouth and made a frightened expression. What nonsense are you talking about? Yi Shanshan frowned, wishing that she could tear Yi Jioga's mouth apart. You are the one who said that Madam was involved in fifth aunt's matter. Yi Jioga made a face of grievance. When did I say this? It was clearly far-fetched and deliberately insulted my mother. Yi Shanshan said while gnashing her teeth. Enough, all of you shut up. Yi Yuxuan fiercely glared at Yi Jioga and scolded. You still think that you haven't lost enough face? Father, don't be angry. You also know that second younger sister has always been thick-skinned and is not afraid of losing face. I apologize to you on her behalf. Yi Jioga's obedient words almost angered Yi Yuxuan and Su Yufeng. Yi Yuxuan's chest violently rose and fell a few times. In the end, he decided to ignore Yi Jioga, this infuriating person, and turned to ask Su Yufeng, where is fifth aunt? Master, she and that adulterer are both in the room. This concubine was afraid that you would see them angry, so I helped them tidy up a little. Su Yufeng said as if fifth aunt was unbearable to look at. Yi Yuxuan flung his sleeves and rushed into the room with large strides. The room still maintained its original appearance, and Mother Qing was watching covetously from the side. No one dared to go up and mess around, but this scene was enough to make Yi Yuxuan angry. Wake this dog and dog couple up. Yi Yuxuan pointed at fifth aunt with trembling fingers. Father, the matter has not been investigated clearly. How can you convict fifth aunt like this? Yi Jioga was convinced by Yi Yuxuan. Could it be that he really wanted to wear a green hat? Master, this concubine has already investigated clearly. This man is fifth aunt's cousin before she entered the mansion. The two of them have long been in love with each other, so they would do such an unbearable thing. I ask master to spare fifth aunt this time for the sake of Rui. Su Yufeng wiped her tears and pleaded for fifth aunt. However, her pleading made Yuxuan even more angry. What a slut, she actually hid it from me for so long. Father, this is just Madam's one-sided statement. Moreover, as you can see, this room is in a mess. Who would have an affair in their own room and make such a big noise? Yi Jioga asked. Jioga, didn't I just say that fifth aunt found out that the adultery was exposed, so she even locked the door? The mess on the floor was caused by her. As for why she chose this room, it was naturally because she had nothing to fear. Even if she was discovered, she could rely on Rui's face to escape. Su Yufeng, who was begging for mercy on behalf of fifth concubine just now, sneered and said, once this person is too complacent, it's easy for him to forget his surname. Madam, why do I feel that these words seem to be talking about you? Madam has just lifted the confinement, and such a big thing happened in Qiushui Garden. It is really amazing, Yi Jioga said without giving in. Chapter 33. Jioga, even if you try your best to blame this matter on me, it is useless. Xinghua has already confessed. Su Yufeng's eyes revealed a proud expression. She turned around and bowed to Yi Yuxuan, saying, Master, if you don't believe me, you can ask Xinghua. Yi Yuxuan glared at Xinghua and said angrily, tell me clearly, what is going on? Xinghua blinked her big eyes and said with some grievance, Master, this servant also doesn't know what is going on. This servant only saw a belt that was similar to that man's waist on the table in Fifth Yinyang's inner chamber. Although Xinghua was straightforward, she was not a fool, so she did not dare to say that the adulterer's belt was the one in Fifth Yinyang's room. But when Yi Yuxuan heard Xinghua's words, he was still furious. He looked at Fifth Yinyang with reddened eyes and wished he could kick her to death. Master, Fifth Yinyang did such a shameful thing. This servant also has no face to plead for her. Su Yufeng sighed and looked at Fifth Yinyang like she was looking at a dead person. Father, Xinghua did not say that the belt on the thief was the one in Fifth Yinyang's room. Why don't we wake up Fifth Yinyang first and listen to what she has to say? You have been in for so long, but she still has no reaction. Something is wrong. Yi Jioga persuaded at the side. In fact, when she came in just now, she already saw that Fifth Yinyang and the adulterer were knocked out. Needless to say, it must be Yi Yu's doing, so she did not make a fuss about this matter. Yi Yuxuan's face darkened and he pinched Fifth Yinyang's waist. As for the adulterer, he was not so lucky. Yi Yuxuan directly kicked his stomach. The adulterer's body hit the wall and he only woke up after vomiting a mouthful of blood. Yi Jioga knew that no matter how things developed, this man could not walk out of Yi clan alive. But he deserved it. He framed a good woman and deserved to die. Fifth Yinyang woke up and looked at Su Yufeng and Yuxuan in confusion. Friend master, eldest young miss, why are you here? Slut, look at what you've done. Yi Yuxuan stepped forward and slapped the fifth concubine's face to the side. The fifth concubine covered her face and looked up just to see her cousin, who she had not seen for many years, curled up in the corner of her room with his mouth full of blood. She couldn't help but shout, Chen Fuan, why are you here? Bitch! When Yi Yuxuan saw that fifth aunt actually knew this adulterer, he was so angry that he raised his foot to kick fifth aunt. Father, you can't. Yi Jioga hurriedly grabbed the fifth concubine's arm and pulled her back, dodging Yi Yuxuan's kick. There was a loud bang. Yi Yuxuan's foot landed on the mahogany table and forcefully shattered it. If this kick landed on Fifth Yinyang's body, it was feared that half of her life would be taken away immediately. The fifth concubine finally understood that she had been set up. She looked up at Su Yufeng fiercely, gritted her teeth, and shouted, You set me up. Peaceful coexistence? It's all a lie. Fifth concubine's words are really funny. Could it be that I used a knife to force you to have a rendezvous with your cousin? Su Yufeng sneered. It's true that Chen Fuan is my cousin, but after my parents died, he seized my parents' property and even wanted to sell me to a brothel. I can't wait to kill him, so how could I have a rendezvous with him? The fifth concubine knelt on the ground and cried to Yuxuan, "Master, if you don't believe me, you can go and investigate. My aunt and uncle were angered to death by this beast." When she was sold to the Yi family, it was her aunt and uncle who helped her. Otherwise, if she stayed at home, she would definitely be sold to a brothel by Chen Fuan. When Yi Yuxuan heard the fifth concubine's words, he couldn't help but frown deeply. His expression was also somewhat uncertain. No one would be willing to wear a green hat. Moreover, the fifth concubine usually behaved herself. Could it be that there was really a secret behind this? Seeing this, Su Yufeng hurriedly said, "Master, this is all because the fifth concubine coaxed you. I have already inquired about it. When this Chen Fuan didn't gamble, his relationship with the fifth concubine was extremely good. Even if there was a gap in their relationship later on, the fifth concubine still couldn't forget about him. She even secretly took out money to help him pay off his gambling debts. If you don't believe me, you can ask him." Without waiting for Yi Yuxuan to ask, Chen Fuan had already shouted at the fifth concubine, "Cousin, I know you hate me, but this time, I really want to live a good life with you. Didn't we agree that after we sell that girl, Yi Rui, we'll take the money and run away? What? You dare to sell my daughter? I'll beat you to death." Yi Rui was now Yi Yuxuan's treasure. When he heard that Chen Fuan dared to have designs on his daughter, he was so angry that he once again kicked him in the heart. Chen Fuan hurriedly hugged his head and shrunk his legs into a ball. It seemed that he was very familiar with being beaten. Yi Yuxuan's foot landed on his bent calf. With a "kacha" sound, that calf was actually forcefully kicked off. Chen Fuan cried out in pain. His forehead and back were covered in cold sweat. Yi Yuxuan wanted to hit him again, but he was stopped by Su Yufeng. "Master, this adulterer can be dealt with any time. Let's quickly go and see the four girls. Don't let them really sell them." When the fifth concubine heard this, she immediately ran towards the courtyard where Yi Rui was like a mad tiger. Yi Jioga hurriedly brought people to follow. Just as he arrived at the entrance of Yi Rui's courtyard, he saw the servant girls lying on the ground. The door of the house was also open, and the inside was in a mess, as if it had been stolen. Yi Rui had already disappeared. The fifth concubine screamed at the top of her lungs. She was like a headless fly, and 2 of her 3 souls had been lost. "Mother Qing, search the entire courtyard for me," Yi Jioga ordered with a frown. Mother Qing brought Zhu, Qing Hu, and Qing Lu to search the entire courtyard, but they didn't even see Yi Rui's shadow. At this time, Yi Yuxuan had already caught up. When he heard that Yi Rui had disappeared, he was so angry that a layer of blood appeared in his eyes. He looked at the fifth concubine with a gaze as cold as an ice knife. It was not enough for the fifth concubine to have an affair with the adulterer, she even sold her most talented daughter. If he didn't cut this slut into pieces today, then he wouldn't be surnamed Yi. Yi Jioga was really afraid that Yi Yuxuan would beat the fifth concubine to death on the spot, so he hurriedly changed the topic. "Father, the most important thing now is to quickly capture that Chen Fuan and interrogate him. Let's see where he took fourth sister. Bring that adulterer to me." Yi Yuxuan's chest heaved up and down as he said word by word. "Mother Gan, why aren't you going?" Su Yufeng said to Mother Gan, who followed behind. Yes, this old servant will go now." Mother Gan turned her head and hurriedly ran towards the fifth concubine's room. A moment later, a scream came from the fifth concubine's room. Chapter 34. When fifth concubine heard the cries coming from the room, she immediately rushed down like a whirlwind. Yi Jioga also quickly followed. Just when he arrived at the entrance of the courtyard, he saw Mother Gan stumbling out and shouting, not good, that thief is dead." Yi Jioga was shocked. He looked up and saw Chen Fuan lying face down on the ground with a big gray footprint on his back. Fifth concubine was like a madwoman riding on Chen Fuan's corpse as she desperately pinched his neck and shouted, "You dare to harm my daughter, I will kill you." Still not pulling fifth concubine away, Yi Jioga shouted at Mother Qing and Mother Gan. Mother Qing and Mother Gan quickly rushed up. The 2 of them spent a lot of effort to pull fifth concubine off Chen Fuan's corpse. Fifth concubine was still desperately struggling as she frantically shouted, Dare to harm my daughter, I will kill you, kill you. Yi Jioga did not care about her as he took a closer look. The big footprint on Qin Fuan's back did not look like fifth concubine's. He looked around the room and asked, "Who kicked him?" Xing Hua immediately shouted in panic, "Eldest young miss, this servant did not mean it." This servant saw that he wanted to run, so in a moment of desperation, this servant kicked him. Although Xing Hua looked strong, she was not strong enough to kick a person to death. Yi Jioga went forward and turned Qin Fuan over. He saw black blood oozing out of his eyes and nostrils. The black blood had a faint fishy smell, like the poison of the red-crowned crane. Although the poison of the red-crowned crane was overbearing, when it flared up, the 7 orifices would not bleed. Yi Jioga reckoned that it was added with some medicine. Yi Jioga secretly dipped a cloth in Qin Fuan's poisonous blood and put it away as he prepared to go back and check it. At this time, Su Yufeng just rushed over. When she saw Qin Fuan's corpse, she immediately covered her mouth with a handkerchief and said, "Fifth concubine is so ruthless. She even killed someone to silence them. Furan's words are really ridiculous. Just now, fifth concubine was not here, how could she poison this thief?" Yi Jioga's gaze swept across the servants in the room as he squinted his eyes and said, "In my opinion, the culprit who poisoned this thief is here." Most of the servants here were brought over by Su Yufeng. Other than them, no one else would make a move on Qin Fuan. "Father, look at eldest sister. In order to help fifth concubine get off the hook, she wants to drag everyone down with her." Yi Shanshan said indignantly beside Yi Yuxuan, "Who doesn't know what kind of person Xing Hua is? How could she poison this adulterer?" Xing Hua was one of Yi Yuxuan's people. Yi Shanshan said this to provoke Yi Yuxuan's anger. "Second younger sister, I didn't mention Xing Hua at all. Why are you so sure that it's her? Who doesn't know how to splash dirty water?" Yi Jioga sneered. Without waiting for Yi Shanshan's reply, he turned his head and said to Yi Yuxuan, "Father, don't you think this matter is too strange? Our Yi Mansion's guards aren't the best, but ordinary people can't come and go as they please. This Qin Fuan is just an ordinary person without any foundation. How did he get to know such a powerful expert who could break through our Yi Mansion's guards and take fourth sister away without a sound? Jioga, did you forget one thing?" Su Yufeng raised her thin eyebrows and said with a smile, "During this time, fifth concubine is managing the house. It's very easy for her to bring people in." "Is it really that easy?" Yi Jioga's mouth curved and his eyes were like lightning. He looked straight at Su Yufeng and said, "Why do I remember that the housekeeper in the backyard can't manage the guards and patrols? If fifth concubine really has such great ability to let the thieves in, I think the first thing she will do is not to sell her daughter, but to deal with some black-hearted people." "Yi Jioga, it's useless for you to pester endlessly. It's a fact that fifth concubine and Qin Fuan are having an affair. It's also a fact that she brought thieves in to capture fourth sister. These things can't be cleared up with just a few words." Yi Shanshan coldly snorted and said to Yi Yuxuan, "Father, although Qin Fuan is dead, fifth concubine is still here. As long as we capture her and torture her, I believe that we will definitely be able to find out where fourth sister went." "Father, this matter is obviously someone framing fifth concubine. I feel that the most important thing is to find out how Qin Fuan came in. If our Yi Mansion is so easily broken into by thieves, I'm afraid that you won't be able to sleep in peace in the future." Yi Jioga understood Yi Yuxuan very well and knew that he was most afraid of death. In his heart, fifth concubine was nothing more than a plaything. Compared to his life, she was worthless. Yuri was the same. Although Yi Yuxuan didn't like Yi Jioga, he had to admit that what she said was right. Fifth concubine could be dealt with at any time, and fourth girl could also be found later, but the guards of the Yi Mansion had to be reorganized immediately. Yi Yuxuan immediately ordered Mother Gan, "Lock fifth concubine in the dungeon and strictly guard her." "Master, fourth miss hasn't been found yet. If you don't take the opportunity to interrogate fifth concubine now, I'm afraid you'll miss the time to save her." Su Yufeng didn't want to keep fifth concubine for the night. "I didn't harm Rui." Fifth concubine stared at Su Yufeng and shouted hysterically, It's you who harmed my daughter. I'll kill you." After saying that, She wanted to pounce on Su Yufeng. However, Su Yufeng had already suffered a big loss last time, so how could she let fifth concubine succeed this time? She raised her hand, and Ji Hua immediately brought a group of sturdy female servants to block in front of fifth concubine. Mother Qing originally wanted fifth concubine to rush over and deal with Su Yufeng, but seeing this, she didn't dare to let go. If she rushed over, fifth concubine would probably suffer a big loss. Su Yufeng, you said that you didn't harm us, mother and daughter, then do you dare to swear? Fifth concubine shouted with blood-red eyes. Who are you to make my mother swear? Yi Shanshan said with disdain. She just gave birth to a daughter with a little talent, and she really thought that she was a superior person. Now that her daughter was missing, she had no support, and was no different from the mud on the ground. You don't dare to swear because you have a guilty conscience. Fifth concubine fiercely glared at Su Yufeng and her daughter, then turned her head to Yuxuan and cried, Master, Rui is a piece of meat that fell from this concubine's body. Even if I sell myself, it's impossible for me to sell her. Yi Yuxuan didn't speak, but his expression obviously showed that he didn't believe it. Fifth concubine knew that it was useless for her to say anything now. A fierce expression suddenly appeared on her face, and she shouted frantically, You don't believe me, then I, Gu Jingyi, will curse those who harmed my daughter, Yi Rui, to be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. My sons will be slaves for generations, and my daughters will be prostitutes for generations. After that, she lowered her head and slammed into the wall with the determination to die. Chapter 35. Fifth Ant You Can't. Yi Jioga was shocked and quickly pulled the fifth ant. But the fifth ant hit the wall with the determination to die. With a loud bang, a flower of blood bloomed on the wall. When Yi Jioga pulled the fifth ant back, there was a bloody hole in her forehead, and blood was gurgling out. She was already exhaling more than she was inhaling. Fifth ant, why are you so stupid? Can't you just talk about it? Do you have to fight with your life? Mother Qing hurriedly pressed the wound on the fifth ant's head. Yi Jioga took out the thunder fire needle and sealed the fifth ant's acupoints. Then he looked up and said to Yuxuan anxiously, Father, the fifth ant is about to die. Don't you have a bottle of 9 revolutions soul return pill? Please take one to save her. Yi Yuxuan's face was gloomy and he didn't say anything. A 9 revolutions soul return pill was worth 1,000 gold. It was impossible to use it to save an ant. Wishful thinking. Yi Shanshan's face was full of contempt, and she even gloated in her heart. The fifth ant used this trick every time. This time, she really saw a ghost. All right, say less. Although Su Yufeng also felt that the fifth ant deserved it, this kind of words were not pleasant to hear. That's right. Yi Shanshan pouted and said, Second sister, is your mouth too itchy? Do you want me to slap you to help you scratch it? Yi Jioga glared at her. If she didn't need to use her spiritual power to maintain the fifth ant's life, she would definitely use a big slap to serve the mother and daughter. Yi Shanshan couldn't help but cover her mouth and step back. The situation of being slapped in the face by Yi Jioga was too tragic. Master, you see that Jioga is obsessed with the fifth ant. Those who don't know will think that they are mother and daughter. I only hope that Jioga won't learn from the fifth ant in the future. In order to cover up the scandal, she doesn't even want her life. Su Yufeng hated Yi Jioga for being disrespectful to the mother and daughter, so she wanted to take the opportunity to pour dirty water on her head. The fifth ant gave birth to my father's children and worked hard. What's wrong with me caring about her? Yi Jioga coldly snorted and said, unlike some black-hearted people who, for their own selfish desires, actually joined hands with their nephew to deal with a mother and daughter. Do they really think that everyone else is blind? Yi Jioga, what nonsense are you spouting? Su Yufeng was shocked. Her transaction with Su Junqing was so private. Where did Yi Jioga hear about it? If you don't want people to know, then don't do it. Paper can't hide fire. Yi Jioga had only wanted to test the waters. He didn't expect that Yu Rui's disappearance was really related to Su Junqing. The mother and daughter were really bold. Master, look at Jioga. The more she speaks, the more outrageous she becomes. Su Yufeng pleaded to Yuxuan for help. Alright, all of you shut up, Yi Yuxuan said impatiently. Pull fifth ant back to her previous courtyard to live. Mother gone, bring some people to personally guard her. No one is allowed to enter or leave without my orders. Not letting fifth Yinyang die in prison was already his greatest gift. Although Su Yufeng and Yi Shanshan were still somewhat unwilling, they didn't dare to refute Yi Yuxuan's orders. In any case, fifth Yinyang wouldn't be able to live for long. Their goal could be considered to have been achieved. This servant understands. Mother Gone nodded her head and then carefully asked, Then what should we do with the body of this thief? Yi Yuxuan stared coldly at Chen Fuan's corpse and said while gritting his teeth, Throw it to the mass grave to feed the wild dogs. After saying that, he turned around and left without looking at fifth Yinyang. Su Yufeng and Yi Shanshan hurriedly followed. Before they left, they didn't forget to reveal a victorious smile to Yi Jioga. Yi Jioga's mind was currently focused on saving people. He couldn't be bothered with them. Eldest miss, do you want to send fifth Yinyang over now or wait for a while? Mother Gone walked over and looked at fifth Yinyang, who was covered in blood, with incomparable worry. She was really afraid that fifth Yinyang wouldn't be able to pull her back to that broken courtyard. Pull her over now, lest madam and second sister make a fuss again. If fifth Yinyang continued to stay in Qiushui Yuan, Su Yufeng wouldn't let her have an easy time. Then I'll go find a palanquin now. Mother Gone received the order and quickly found a palanquin. Mother Qing, Zhenju, Qing Hu and Qing Lu carried fifth Yinyang onto the palanquin and then sent her to the broken courtyard where she lived before. When fifth Yinyang left, it was very clean. The things inside were also very intact. The bedding and other things were also still there. Yi Jioga directed Mother Qing and Mother Gone to put fifth Yinyang on the bed and left Qing Hu and Qing Lu to take care of her. These two servant girls were kind-hearted. Although fifth Yinyang was instigated by Mother Qiu to drive them out of Qiushui Yuan, they still remembered fifth Yinyang and fourth Miss's kindness and were willing to stay and take care of her. Eldest miss, do you want to call a doctor to take a look at fifth Yinyang? Mother Qing asked softly. She felt that the blood in her palm was sticky and frightening. Father won't agree. Yi Yuxuan didn't throw fifth Yinyang into prison, which was already very merciful. It was absolutely impossible to call a doctor. Then how long do you think fifth Yinyang can hold on like this? It wasn't that Mother Qing wanted to curse fifth Yinyang, but her appearance was really too miserable. Her hair was messy, her face was covered in blood, and her clothes were very dirty. Yet, eldest miss didn't allow her to tidy up. How long can I hold on for? Yi Jioga lied a little. Although fifth Yinyang's injuries looked serious, she had already used thunderfire needles to seal her meridians and used spiritual power to nourish her. She wouldn't die in a short period of time. She said this just to deceive Yi Yuxuan and Su Yufeng. Otherwise, if fifth Yinyang was fine, she would already be in prison. Sigh. Fifth Yinyang is really a bitter person. I don't know how fourth miss is now. Mother Qing sighed. Fourth miss was only 7 years old and had already experienced such a calamity. It was really pitiful. Although Kanglin continent respected spiritual beings, a woman's reputation was also very important. Even if fourth miss could be found back in one piece, her future marriage wouldn't be smooth. Fourth sister is a good person. Heaven helps her. Nothing will happen. Yi Jioga believed that Yi Yu had definitely chased after her. Unfortunately, she had no way to contact Yi Yu and could only wait for him to come back. Before Yi Jioga left, he told Mother Gone to be wary of Madam's people and not to kill fifth Yinyang. Mother Gone expressed that she understood. Compared to Madam, who didn't treat servants as humans, she preferred eldest miss, who was affectionate and righteous. At the critical moment, she was willing to stand up for her own people. After Yi Jioga returned to his purple forest courtyard, he took out the cloth that was stained with Chen Fuan's poisonous blood and carefully studied it. Chen Fuan was just a vagabond. This time, he dared to use his life to frame fifth Yinyang. If he wasn't being threatened, then he was being incited. Su Yufeng and Su Yufeng mother and daughter were proud of their noble status, so they definitely wouldn't do this personally. Yi Jioga was looking for this middleman. Chapter 36. Yi Jioga carefully studied Chen Fuan's poisonous blood and discovered that in addition to the red crown crane, There was also a poison called ice soul powder. Strictly speaking, ice soul powder was not a poison, but an aphrodisiac. After taking it, it could make people feel like they were on cloud nine, drunk and dreaming. Men would be powerful and women would be interested. In addition, this aphrodisiac also had a magical effect that few people knew about. After taking it, it could suppress all kinds of toxins, but as long as there was activity under the bed, the toxins would double. Su Yufeng gave Chen Fuan the ice soul powder, probably because she wanted him to insult fifth concubine. Then when she brought people to catch him, Chen Fuan just happened to be poisoned and died in bed. At that time, fifth concubine would not be able to clear her name even if she jumped into the Yellow River. However, Su Yufeng did not calculate that someone would interfere and knock Chen Fuan out in advance. Chen Fuan was not able to insult fifth concubine, but was beaten to the point of vomiting blood by Yushuan. In the end, he was kicked to death by Xinghua. This ice soul powder was a rare item in Shangjing. Only some large brothels would use it to liven up the mood. It was unknown which brothel Chen Fuan was recruited from. Yi Jioga secretly checked Chen Fuan's recent whereabouts. She heard that he suddenly made a fortune some time ago and even hooked up with the courtesan of Drunken Cloud Pavilion. Drunken Cloud Pavilion sounded like the name of a restaurant, but it was actually one of the 3 largest brothels in Shangjing. That courtesan, Yun Yang, was a wonderful person. Although she was an outstanding beauty, she was very casual in choosing her guests. As long as they could enter her eyes, no matter if they were ordinary people or high officials, she would treat them the same. Therefore, there would often be commoners who thought they were extraordinary going to try their luck. Yi Jioga decided to investigate this Yun Yang. She changed into embroidered men's clothes and disguised herself as an elegant young master. She waved her fan and came to the red light street where Drunken Cloud Pavilion was located. At this time, red lanterns were hung on both sides of the red light street. Girls in revealing clothes were soliciting customers at the door. The entire street was filled with the smell of cheap cosmetics. Drunken Cloud Pavilion was in the east corner. The 3-story wooden building was decorated very luxuriously. The girl standing at the door looked slightly more upscale than the other brothels. When she saw her coming, she smiled and shouted, "Guest, quickly come in." The moment Yi Jioga entered the Drunken Cloud Pavilion, the brothel keeper came to welcome him. The madam looked to be around 40 years old and had a lot of makeup on. She looked quite smart and had sharp eyes. She wore a red dress that was very low cut, and she smiled as she said to Yi Jioga, "Sir, you look quite unfamiliar. It must be your first time coming to our Drunken Cloud Pavilion. How should I address you?" "This young master's surname is Yi. I heard that Lady Yun Yang is as beautiful as a fairy, so I came to pay a visit. Mother, please introduce me." Yi Jioga closed his fan and took out a silver ingot. The madam's eyes immediately lit up. She took the money and said with a smile, "Young Master Yi, I'm really sorry. Yun Yang is currently greeting guests. How about I introduce you to other girls? I came here because of your reputation. Mother, please do me a favor." Yi Jioga took out another ingot of silver. "Since Gongzi Yi is so sincere, then I'll go ask Yun Yang. Please go to the private room and wait for a moment." The procuress smiled as she took the silver. "Thank you, mother." Yi Jioga opened his fan with a snap and followed the procuress to the private room on the 2nd floor. The brothel keeper called for 4 beautiful girls to sit with her, and then she went out. The 4 girls were all experienced. They took their wine cups and rubbed them against Yi Jioga's body. They coquettishly said, "Young Master Yi, this servant will accompany you for a drink." Yi Jioga calmly blocked them and said with a smile, "This young master didn't come here to drink." "Then Gongzi, what do you want to do here?" A girl dressed in yellow smiled and stretched out her small hand to touch Yi Jioga's thigh. However, she was stopped by the girl. "This young master wants to do something exciting. I wonder if you have it here?" Yi Jioga patted the girl's small face. His eyes narrowed as he smiled maliciously. The expressions of the girls immediately changed. These days, the most frightening thing was to meet a pervert. The more refined a person was, the more beastly they were. The girl dressed in yellow was so scared that her face turned pale. She forced a smile and asked, "I wonder what kind of excitement Gongzi is looking for?" First tell me what you have here. Money is not a problem. Yi Jioga gestured as he rubbed his fingers. This was the code word for ice soul powder. The girls looked at each other. Before they could say anything, a bell-like voice came from outside the room. I've let Gongzi wait for a long time. Yunyang has sinned. Aya, Yunyang is here. The girls immediately stood up while laughing. After opening the door and welcoming Yunyang in, they all left. Yunyang was indeed very beautiful. Her skin was snow-white, and she had almond-shaped eyes and peach cheeks. She was wearing a peach-red dress. Her chest was pulled down, revealing half of her snow-white chest. Her sleeves were wide, and her every movement was charming. That kind of romantic charm could indeed make a man fall head over heels for her. Yunyang came late. I punish myself with 3 cups. Yunyang rolled up her sleeves, revealing her white wrist. That was accompanied by a very special and strange fragrance. September fragrance. When Yi Jioga smelled this fragrance, he was shocked. He immediately began to feel dizzy. In front of him, Yunyang's figure also appeared. Gongziyi, what's wrong with you? Yunyang's beautiful face revealed a surprised expression. She reached out her hand to help Yi Jioga up. Don't touch me. Yi Jioga forcefully slapped Yunyang's hand away. He wanted to stand up, but he found that his body was weak. September fragrance mixed with winter moon resin would produce a strong knockout that was targeted at spirit practitioners. As long as one smelled it, it would immediately take effect. Therefore, these 2 drugs were classified as forbidden drugs. If one was discovered, they would be chased by spirit practitioners. Yi Jioga was really careless this time. He thought that this was just an ordinary brothel and that there wouldn't be any problems coming in to ask a few questions. He didn't think that he would actually fall for it. That winter moon resin was definitely lit in a hidden corner of the room. Yunyang looked at her wrist that was slapped red. Her gentle and affectionate face changed. She revealed a sinister sneer and scolded, "Stinky brat, you still dare to make a move against this old lady. This old lady wants to see what kind of immortal you are. You actually dare to have ideas about our drunken cloud pavilion." As her voice fell, she reached out to grab Yi Jioga. A faint layer of black gas appeared on her white palm. Yi Jioga forcefully bit the tip of her tongue. She gathered her spiritual energy and was about to counterattack. However, Yunyang's eyes suddenly rolled back and she fell to the ground with a bang. Following that, Zishang's perfect figure appeared behind Yunyang. His handsome face revealed a light smile. His purple eyes flashed with a trace of ridicule. He hooked his snake tail and pulled her into his embrace. Lowering his head, he smiled and said, "Little Jioga, this sovereign only took a nap. How did you end up in such a sorry state?" Zishang's warm breath blew on her face, bringing with it an intoxicating smell. Yi Jioga felt her head become even more dizzy. She didn't want Zishang to laugh at her. She forcefully said, "Who said this lady was in a sorry state? This lady came out to pick up girls. I am very carefree." Although this girl Yunyang's heart was a bit poisonous and her methods were a bit ruthless. Is that so? I didn't think that little Jioga would be able to kill both men and women. However, it seems that this woman's service isn't enough. How about this sovereign personally do it? I guarantee that you will be satisfied. Zishang said as his hand that was holding Yi Jioga's waist slid down. Chapter 37. Yi Jioga only felt a pair of hot hands moving around her body, igniting countless sparks. It was as uncomfortable as burning her body. She had no choice but to stick close to Zishang's cold body to feel slightly better. But she was clearly drugged, so why did it feel like she was in heat? Yi Jioga felt the danger of losing her virginity, so she used all her strength to push Zishang away. Go away! But in front of Zishang, her strength was no different from a kitten scratching an itch. Pitiful Xiao Jioga, be obedient and let this sovereign see your tongue. Zishang lowered his head and gently kissed her lips, coaxing her to open her mouth. Yi Jioga subconsciously opened her mouth and scolded, "Scram!" But before she could say the word scram, Zishang's cold and fragrant tongue had already entered her mouth. Like a violent storm, it swept through her mouth and finally wrapped around her injured tongue and gently sucked. The pain and numbness made Yi Jioga's mind even more muddled. Her body was soft like a pool of water, and she was pulled by Zi Shang onto the peach-red bed. The unbearable big bed let out creaking sounds. Yi Jioga struggled with all her might, but she was tightly entangled by Zi Shang. Her mouth was blocked, so she could not even make a sound. A numb feeling came from all parts of her body. It was as if there were butterflies flying in her stomach, making people want to sink into it. Just when Yi Jioga's chastity was about to be lost, a soft knocking sound came from the door. The brothel keeper's ambiguous voice came in. "Young Master Yi, is Yun Yang satisfied with your service?" Yi Jioga suddenly felt a pain in her neck and her mind immediately returned. She opened her eyes and saw Zi Shang lifting up her neck. The sharp white snake teeth were still stained with a bit of fresh blood. "Mom, don't worry, young Master Yi is very satisfied." Zi Shang smiled and let out Yun Yang's voice. "Hee, that's good." The brothel keeper let out a vulgar laugh. "Beast!" Yi Jioga's breathing was chaotic and her face was flushed red. She wanted to slap Zi Shang's handsome face, but he caught it. "Xiao Jioga is truly heartless. This sovereign helped you cure the poison out of kindness, and this is how you repay this sovereign?" Zi Shang licked the blood on his fangs, then brought Yi Jioga's palm to his mouth and bit it lightly, leaving 2 white marks. Yi Jioga wanted to retract his hand, but Zi Shang held onto Yi Jioga's hand very tightly. Zi Shang's expression seemed to be saying, "If you don't give me an explanation, I won't let you off." This is the first time I've heard that detoxification requires rubbing the chest, touching the legs, and biting the neck. Yi Jioga's chest was still burning with pain. This damned lecher was rubbing her with the strength of a steamed bun. Not to mention her legs and neck. Zi Shang's tail was still tightly wrapped around her thighs, and the tip of its coquettish tail was moving ambiguously along her legs. "You're talking about this?" Zi Shang pinched her again and said in a serious manner, "I saw that it was really small here, so I was kind enough to rub it for you. You really don't know what's good for you." "Is that so? Then I really have to thank your whole family." Yi Jioga gritted his teeth and smiled. Who did he offend with a small chest? "No need to thank me." Zi Shang's bright red lips hooked up, smiling like a flower that had drunk its fill of blood. "Let go, don't delay me from doing proper business." Yi Jioga fiercely slapped Zi Shang's hand away. Her martial strength was inferior to his, so there was no point in continuing to argue. It was more important to do proper business. "Alright." Zi Shang reluctantly let go of Yi Jioga. Yi Jioga turned over and got off the bed. While tidying up her messy hair and clothes, she searched the room for winter moon resin. Sure enough, she found a slightly burnt white candle in a hidden cabinet. Just this little thing was enough to make Drunken Cloud Pavilion close down, but her goal was not this. Yi Jioga checked Yun Yang and found that she was still unconscious. She planned to tie her up and interrogate her. Just kill her here, why go through the trouble of bringing her back? Zi Shang reclined on the peach blossom bed. His white jade-like palm was propped up on the side of his cheek. His black hair was like a crow's feather that spread across the entire bed. His coquettish face had an indifferent expression. Although he was half human and half snake, his peerless appearance completely transcended gender and species. He was so beautiful that people could not move their eyes away. The so-called flower queen Yun Yang was not even worthy of carrying his shoes in front of him. "Then you help me ask." Yi Jioga had no feelings towards Zi Shang's beauty. He only knew that his demon eye was very powerful. Previously, when Hong Lu falsely accused her, Zi Shang had helped her once. "What's in it for me to help you?" Zi Shang slightly raised his long eyebrows. His peach blossom eyes ambiguously swept across Yi Jioga's body. He had not touched enough just now. 1 drop of blood. Yi Jioga did not give him any room to choose. Zi Shang was in a good mood and readily agreed. His snake tail swayed in front of Yun Yang. His fingertip released a purple light as he pointed it at her forehead. Yun Yang suddenly opened her eyes and stiffly sat up. She blankly stared at Zi Shang as if she was a doll being controlled by him. "Ask whatever you want to ask." Zi Shang's body leaned against Yi Jioga's body as if he had no bones. "Help me ask her whose business Drunken Cloud Pavilion belongs to." Why did she use bewitching incense on me the moment we met? After Yijioga spat out a series of questions, he closely stared at Zishang. He wanted to see how he was going to use his demon eye technique. Okay. Zishang did not avoid it. He began to use his demon eye technique in front of Yijioga. His purple pupil suddenly split into two pupils. After turning a circle, it returned to a thin line. Yun Yang's gaze toward Zishang became even more lax. Her mouth opened and closed. Like a bamboo tube spilling beans, she said everything that Yijioga wanted to know. So this drunken cloud pavilion was actually the Su family's business. It was also a place they used to gather information and trade people. Because they had done too many shady things, they were very wary of unfamiliar faces. When Yijioga just entered the door, he aroused their vigilance. Later on, when he said that he wanted to use the ice soul powder, it aroused their suspicions. Thus, they planned to use bewitching incense to knock Yijioga down and then torture him. This Su family really has big guts. They actually dare to casually make a move on a stranger. They are simply lawless. Yijioga clenched his teeth. Then he asked Yun Yang, "What's the matter with Chen Fuan?" The Su family wanted me to seduce Chen Fuan. Then they tricked her into framing Yi Mansion's fifth aunt. In order to earn money for me to redeem myself. Redeeming himself was fake. Poisoning him was the real deal. Chen Fuan thought that he had won the favor of a beauty. He did not expect that he would summon a deadly snake beauty. Besides this, what other evil things did the Su family want you to do? Tell me all of them. Yijioga planned to use this evidence to clean up the Su family. There's no time. The madam and the others are preparing to come up. Zishang shook his head. One last question. Does Su Yufeng have any blackmail on Mother Chiu? Yijioga asked. I don't know. Yun Yang said. Then have you recently done anything to anyone surnamed Chiu? Yijioga changed the way he asked. Yun Yang immediately said without hesitation. Chapter 38. Yun Yang had been in the drunken cloud pavilion for so long, she had harmed too many people, but there was only one person with the surname Chiu. This person was called Chiu Dishing. He was in his early 20s, a beginner spiritualist, and a frequent customer of the drunken cloud pavilion. He had probably been chasing her for a long time. Yun Yang originally looked down on this low-level spiritualist, but orders came from above to lure Chiu Dishing into fighting another spiritualist, which was why she chose Chiu Dishing as a guest. Later, Chiu Dishing was heavily injured by his love rival, so he was dragged home to recuperate. Where does Chiu Dishing live? Yijioga asked again. East Main Street number 17. Just as Yun Yang finished speaking, footsteps could be heard from the stairs. The brothel keeper guessed that the fat sheep surnamed Yi had already fainted and was about to drag him down for interrogation. Let's go. Yijioga did not plan to have a direct confrontation with the brothel keeper, so he got up and prepared to leave. How should we deal with this person? Zishang looked at Yun Yang. What do you think? Yijioga asked. Kill. Zishang used his demon eye on Yun Yang. If it was discovered by others, it might bring trouble. Then kill him. This Yun Yang was an accomplice of the evildoer. She had committed many evil deeds. She deserved to die. Okay. Zishang did not make any movements, but Yun Yang's body softly fell to the ground, as if she was in deep sleep. Yijioga did not check. He opened the window and floated down. It was already dawn, the time when the ladies and guests were sleeping. The golden sunlight shone on the lonely red light street. After Yijioga quickly left the red light street, he arrived at East Main Street number 18. This was a rather old house. The old stone lion in front of the door showed the owner's past glory. Yijioga flipped over and entered the courtyard. He heard a familiar old voice. Xing Er, how do you feel today? Does your waist still hurt? Mother, my waist still doesn't have any strength. Please help me find Grandmaster Yi. Let him give me some medicine. A young man's voice followed. You were beaten up in a brothel because of jealousy. What face do you want me to ask for medicine from the old master? The old voice belonged to Mother Chiu. Mother, I know I was wrong. I promise you that once my injuries are healed, I will turn over a new leaf. I will never cause trouble again. I will be filial to you in the future. The man begged. Needless to say, this man was Chiu Desheng. I'll think of something when I get back to the Yi mansion. You rest well and I'll come back to see you later. Chiu Mama sighed and comforted her son before opening the door and walking out. Mother Chiu looked very haggard. Her face was full of worry and her hair was white. It was as if she had suddenly aged 10 years. No one would doubt that she was seriously ill. After Mrs. Chiu left, Yi Jioga jumped down from the beam and looked through the crack in the window. She saw a young man in his early 20s lying on the wooden bed in the room. He had a high nose, deep eyes, and high cheekbones. He looked exactly like Chiu Mama. Yi Jioga opened his spiritual eye and carefully observed his aura and spiritual energy flow. He quickly discovered his illness. Yun Yang was truly lacking in morals. Not only did she beat Chiu Desheng up, she even broke his kidney meridians. Even if he could stand up and walk, his third leg would not be able to move. This was commonly known as impotence. This Chiu Desheng was beaten up in a brothel, so he must be a dissolute person. This illness was simply killing him. Mother Chiu helping Su Yufeng deal with fifth yin yang was most likely to treat her son's injuries. It was a pity that this kind of impotence could not be treated by normal aphrodisiacs. Only the golden spear pill made of high-quality spiritual materials could restore his masculinity. The golden spear pill cost 50 silver per pill. Taking it for a long time was not a small amount. Although Mother Chiu had a lot of experience in the Yi mansion, she was still just a servant. Her monthly salary was only 20 silver. Even if she had a bit of income in private, she could not afford such a large amount of medicine. If she wanted to save her son, she could only continue to beg Su Yufeng. This was equivalent to being tightly held in Su Yufeng's hands. If she wanted to persuade Mother Chiu, she could only start with Chiu Desheng. Yi Jioga opened the window and jumped in. When Chiu Desheng heard the movement, he immediately turned his head and shouted, "Who are you?" "Someone who can save you." Yi Jioga sat on the table. "Get out or I'll call for help." Chiu Desheng looked at Yi Jioga vigilantly. Even if he was seriously injured, he would not easily believe a stranger's words. "Young Master Chiu, wait for me to finish, then it won't be too late to chase me out." Yi Jioga looked down, his sharp eyes swept over his legs, then asked, "Young Master Chiu was beaten like this, don't you feel strange?" "What do you mean?" Chiu Desheng frowned. "If I said that someone deliberately beat you, would you believe it?" Yi Jioga said. "Deliberately?" Chiu Desheng's heart jumped. In fact, he also felt strange. Yun Yang had so many guests, why did those people only target him, and with such a heavy hand? Could it be there was really a conspiracy? Jealousy is a common thing in a brothel, but to hit you so hard is not normal. "Do you know who hurt me?" "Of course. In fact, all of this was set up by Yi Mansion's Madame Su Yufeng to threaten your mother to help her deal with fifth aunt. Yun Yang has already been killed by the Su family, and the next one is you and your mother." Yi Jioga said slowly. "I don't believe it. What evidence do you have to prove that the Su family did it?" Chiu Desheng's heart beat even faster. "If you don't believe me, you can ask your mother, or find someone to go to Drunken Cloud Pavilion to see if Yun Yang is still there." Yi Jioga got up and said, "When you think it through, I will come to you again, and then we can talk about how to treat your injury." "You have a way to treat my injury?" Chiu Desheng's eyes suddenly lit up. "If you and your mother are sensible." Yi Jioga got up and left, intending to let Chiu Desheng think about it. "Why don't you just find Mother Chiu? Why go through so much trouble?" Zi Shang couldn't understand Yi Jioga's thoughts. Wasn't it just to let Mother Chiu testify against Su Yufeng, directly threaten her? Why did he run to Chiu Desheng to treat his injury? What do you know, Mother Chiu helped Su Yufeng harm fifth aunt, which is equivalent to betraying Yi Yuxuan. She won't easily come out unless she is forced to a dead end. Yi Jioga looking for Chiu Desheng was just to probe, she hasn't used her real move yet. "TSK, you humans are troublesome." Zi Shang sneered and didn't say anything. Yi Jioga quietly returned to Purple Forest Park. Just as he changed his clothes, Mother Qin came over and reported, "Eldest Miss, fifth aunt is awake." Chapter 39. Madame Wu woke up. Did she say anything? Yi Jioga sat in front of the dressing table, took out a pearl butterfly hairpin from the jewelry box, and began to draw on her hair. No. Qing's mother took the hairpin and helped Yi Jioga put it in place. Then she said, Qing Lu said that after fifth aunt woke up, she was lying on the bed in a daze, as if she had lost her soul. She couldn't even drink water. They were very worried, so they wanted to invite you over to have a look. All right, I'll go and take a look. Fifth concubine knew that it was a good thing to regret, but if one regretted to the point of throwing away one's life, then the loss outweighed the gain. Yi Jioga came to fifth concubine's broken courtyard with Mother Qing and saw two sturdy women guarding the door. It seemed that they were from the torture room. In addition to the two of them, there was a pretty maid wearing a lotus-colored gown and two old maids guarding the door. When she saw Yi Jioga coming from afar, she respectfully bowed and said, "This servant greets eldest young lady." Yi Jioga recognized this pretty maid as Su Yufeng's chief maid, Ji Hua, and asked, "What are you guys guarding here for?" Replying to eldest miss, "Foreign is worried about Fifth Yinyang's health, so she specially ordered us to come and listen to Fifth Yinyang's instructions." Ji Hua lowered her eyes and said in a manner that was neither servile nor overbearing, "Your madam sure is considerate. Then you guys can stay here." Yi Jioji's red lips curled up as she laughed mockingly and walked towards the courtyard. The two sturdy female servants acted as if they didn't see anything. Ji Hua immediately frowned. Just now, she wanted to go in, but the two female servants stopped her, saying that without the master's order, she was not allowed to go in. Now that the eldest miss had come over, they actually pretended not to see her. This was too much. Ji Hua was unwilling and couldn't help but say to Yi Jioga, "Eldest young miss, forgive this servant for being bold, but master said that without his orders, no one is allowed to enter the courtyard." Ji Hua hadn't finished speaking when Mother Qing suddenly stepped forward, raised her hand, and gave her a fierce slap and scolded, "Who do you think you are? Madam doesn't dare to speak to eldest miss like this, and you still dare to put on airs in front of eldest Mississippi. I really have to teach you some manners." Ji Hua covered her face and looked at Mother Qing in disbelief. She was a first-class servant girl of the madam's side. Normally, she had a lot of face in the residence. No matter where she went, people would fawn over her. In the past, Mother Qing was even worse than a maid sweeping the floor. In her eyes, Mother Qing was not even a maid sweeping the floor. She could beat and scolded. "What are you looking at? If you have the ability, go to the master and complain. If you don't have the ability, just tuck your tail between your legs and stay at the side." In the past, when she had lost all of her internal energy, she had suffered a lot from Ji Hua. Now that her internal energy had recovered and she had the support of the eldest young miss, if she didn't take this opportunity to establish her power, then when? Yi Jioga was very appreciative of Mother Qing's valiant attitude. When dealing with Su Yufeng's people, one shouldn't be polite. "My mother is. I was Qing's Ji. Mother of, why, Qing Xiup, Hua, Shi, and Qing. I is Hua." Yi Jioga was too lazy to pay attention to her. He walked into the courtyard with Mother Qing and saw Qing Hu coming out of the house. "Eldest miss, you're finally here." Qing Hu let out a sigh of relief when he saw eldest Mississippi, Qing. Yi Qing. What? Qing. Qing. Qing Lu is feeding Fifth Yinyang medicine. Qing Lu lifted the curtain and let Yi Jioga in. As soon as Yi Jioga entered the room, he saw Qing Lu coaxing Fifth Yinyang to drink the medicine. "I beg you, just drink some." Fifth Yinyang's head was wrapped in white cloth. Her mouth was closed. She stared at the roof. She seemed to have lost her soul. She didn't react to the movement outside. "Young miss." Qing Lu saw Yi Jioga come in. She stood up and saluted. "Give me the medicine bowl. You can all go out." Yi Jioga took the medicine bowl and prepared to talk to Fifth Yinyang. After Mother Qing took Qing Hu and Qing Lu out, she closed the door. Fifth Yinyang didn't react at all. It was as if she didn't know Yi Jioga came in. Yi Jioga held the medicine bowl and sat on a broken chair next to the bed. He said slowly, "Fifth Yinyang, do you want Rui to come back alive?" Fifth Yinyang's empty eyes immediately turned. She propped herself up and stared at Yi Jioga. Do you know where Rui is? I don't. Yi Jioga shook his head. Yi Yu still hadn't contacted her. She had no idea where Yu Rui had been taken. Fifth In Yang's eyes immediately dimmed. She lay back down dejectedly and murmured, "Young miss, don't make fun of me anymore." "I'm not making fun of you. I don't know where Rui is, but I know who separated you and your mother," said Yi Jioga. "Even if you don't say it, I know it was Su Yufeng," said Fifth In Yang. Tears welled up in her eyes. She sobbed. "It's all my fault for being possessed back then. I actually believed her nonsense. Now that it's like this, it's useless to say that." Yi Jioga lowered his eyes and stirred the medicine bowl in his hand. Fifth In Yang had been bewitched by Su Junqing. Wasn't that the same as being possessed? However, after this ordeal, he believed that Fifth In Yang wouldn't be so easily bewitched in the future. "Young miss, I know I was wrong. Please save Rui. As long as you can save Rui, I'll repay you even if I have to work like a horse." As Fifth In Yang said that, she was about to get off the bed and kowtow to Yi Jioga. "Fifth In Yang, what are you doing?" Yi Jioga pressed Fifth In Yang back onto the bed. "Rui is my younger sister. Even if you didn't say it, I would still save her. However, you have to take good care of your body too. Otherwise, if Rui comes back and you collapse, wouldn't that make our loved ones suffer and our enemies happy?" "Young miss, don't worry. I definitely won't die before Su Yufeng." Fifth In Yang raised her head, and her eyes shone with a strong light of survival. She took the medicine bowl in Yi Jioga's hand and gulped it down. "You're right to think like that." Yi Jioga nodded in satisfaction. If Fifth In Yang, the victim, died, it would be useless even if she found Su Yufeng's weakness. At this moment, in the ink garden, half of Ji Hua's face was swollen as she reported to Su Yufeng about Yi Jioga visiting Fifth In Yang. "Mother, this Yi Jioga is too arrogant. Even her old servant dares to bully us. If you don't teach her a lesson, we won't be able to leave Ink Water Garden in the future," Yi Shanshan said hatefully. Although her cousin and mother both said that they should let Yi Jioga go at this time, she really couldn't take it lying down. "Do you think I don't want to kill him? Isn't it not time yet?" Su Yufeng was also full of anger. That day, when she saw Fifth In Yang hit the wall with all her might, she thought that she was dead for sure. She didn't expect that bitch to be so lucky and come back to life. However, what upset her the most was the news from the Su family. It said that Yun Nyang suddenly died in the Drunken Cloud Pavilion. The murderer was said to be a youth surnamed Yi. Chapter 40. As soon as the surname Yi was mentioned, Su Yufeng immediately thought of Yi Jioga. She didn't expect Yi Jioga to find out about Yun Nyang. Then wouldn't he know about her framing fifth aunt? The more Su Yufeng thought about it, the more uneasy she became. She was instigated by her nephew Su Junqing to give Yi Rui to him when he killed fifth aunt. But now that she thought about it carefully, she found that this matter was full of loopholes. Although Yi Yuxuan hadn't found anything yet, it was hard to say after a long time. If Yi Rui was found by Yi Jioga, then her situation would be bad. Yi Yuxuan wouldn't let her go. The only thing she could do now was to quickly kill Yi Rui. But Su Junqing refused to tell her Yi Rui's whereabouts. Speaking of this nephew's recent behavior, she couldn't see through him. "Mother, what are you thinking about?" Yi Shanshan saw her mother's uncertain expression and suddenly felt strange. "Nothing. Didn't you say that the Crown Prince asked you to go to the lake? Why don't you go and prepare?" Su Yufeng didn't want her daughter to know about her troubles. She couldn't help much anyway, so she might as well dress up to make the Crown Prince happy. "Well, your daughter will leave." Yi Shanshan saw that it was getting late and it would take time to dress up, so she left. Su Yufeng couldn't sit still, so she asked someone to prepare a carriage to go to the Su residence to find Su Junqing, but she didn't expect to find him. However, although Su Junqing wasn't in the residence, he left her a letter. After Su Yufeng read the letter, a satisfied smile appeared on her face, and she thought to herself, so this brat had already arranged it. I was worried for nothing. Su Yufeng hurried back to the residence and immediately asked Ji Hua to find Mother Chiu. "Madam, Mother Chiu left early and hasn't come back yet," Ji Hua reported. "Then when she comes back, tell her to see me immediately." Su Yufeng knew that Mother Chiu must have gone to see her good-for-nothing son again. But this was also good. The more she loved her son, the more she could control her. Mother Chiu came back before noon. Her gloomy old face was very ugly. When she heard that the madam was looking for her, her eyes flashed with unforgettable hatred. She paced back and forth in her room before she settled her mind and walked towards Ink Garden. Mother Chiu is here. Madam is waiting for you inside. Ji Hua greeted her warmly and personally lifted the curtain to let Mother Chiu in. Thank you, Miss Ji Hua. Mother Chiu smiled and bowed to Su Yufeng after entering the room. Then she bowed and lowered her eyes, afraid that Su Yufeng would notice something was wrong. Ji Hua, give Mother Chiu a seat. Su Yufeng gave Ji Hua a look. Ji Hua brought an embroidered stool over and left with the servants in the room. I'll just stand. Mrs. Chiu stood with her hands down. Mrs. Chiu is too polite. Su Yufeng didn't care. She changed the subject and asked, How is your son's injury now? Thank you, madam, for your concern. Since using the pill you gave me, my son's injury has been very good. The doctor said that he will be fine after a period of rest. Mother Chiu said softly. That's good. But it takes 100 days to recover from a broken bone. This injury must be treated well and must not be delayed. I have a bottle of good medicine for wounds. Take it back to him. Su Yufeng took out a jade bottle from her sleeve and put it on the table. I don't dare to trouble madam. Mother Chiu shook her head. Mother Chiu is treating me like an outsider. Could it be that you don't like this pill? Su Yufeng smiled, but there was some displeasure in her eyes. I don't dare. Mother Chiu paused, then bowed and put away the jade bottle. She said in a low voice, I thank madam for your reward. That's right. Su Yufeng nodded with satisfaction. I don't know why madam called me over? Mother Chiu asked in a more respectful voice. It's actually not a big deal. I just want you to help me take something to Aunt Wu's courtyard. Su Yufeng said softly. Don't worry, madam, I will definitely do this for you. Mother Chiu lowered her slack eyelids, hiding the light that flashed in her eyes. I naturally trust Mother Chiu. Su Yufeng didn't notice anything wrong with Mother Chiu from beginning to end. She was very relieved to give the things to her. At this time, Yi Jioga was sitting on the soft mattress in the courtyard, drinking tea and basking in the sun. Mother Qing hurried in from outside the door and immediately reported in her ear, Eldest young miss, I heard that Madam summoned Chiu Mama to the Ink Garden as soon as she came back. I don't know if there's going to be another plot. I'm just afraid that she won't make a move. Yi Jioga put down the teacup and smiled proudly. Mother Chiu should have learned the truth from her son by now. If she was still willing to help Su Yufeng, then she wouldn't be bewitched. She would be kicked in the head by a donkey. What does young miss mean? Mother Qing looked confused. You don't need to worry about it. Just wait for a good show. Yi Jioga got up and prepared to go find Chiu Desheng to discuss the conditions. She didn't expect that when she arrived at Chiu family's courtyard, there was no one inside. She looked up and down, front and back, left and right, but didn't find a single person. Do you need this sovereign's help? Zi Shang's interested voice sounded in Yi Jioga's ear. You're not sleeping? Last time she wanted to ask him for help, but he was sleeping. Why was he so excited this time? I'm not sleeping. He was sleeping because it took too much soul power to transfer to Yi Jioga. But there was no need to let her know about this. Then help me find where Chiu Desheng went. Yi Jioga said. If it was the Su family that captured him, then it was exactly what she wanted. What's in it for me? He never worked for free. A drop of blood. This was the only thing Yi Jioga could offer. And a kiss. Zi Shang was a bit nostalgic for the kiss from last time. No way. Yi Jioga flatly refused. She refused to associate with beasts. Then you look for him yourself. Zi Shang was also a person with character. I'll look for him myself. Yi Jioga replied stubbornly. After she searched the inside and outside of the house again, she found that there were no signs of fighting inside the house. Everything was intact, but there were a few pieces of clothing missing from the wardrobe. In the end, Yi Jioga came to a conclusion. Chiu Desheng wasn't captured, but was taken away by Mother Chiu. So, Mother Chiu still didn't want to shed all pretense of cordiality with Su Yufeng. TSK, she didn't expect Mother Chiu to be so tolerant. Her son was beaten to the point where he couldn't have sex, but she still continued to help the murderer. Sure enough, her brain was kicked by a donkey. What did this sovereign say? She could have just threatened the main character, but she just had to threaten her son. Now she lost face. Zishang was somewhat gloating. The monk can run, but the temple can't run. Even if Mother Chiu took my son away, I still have a way to deal with her. Yi Jioga wouldn't admit that her estimation was wrong. Fine, if you want the sovereign's help, you only need a kiss. Zishang's voice was full of temptation. Yi Jioga said, "Kiss yourself." Chapter 41. Yi Jioga returned to Purple Forest Park in a gloomy mood. From afar, he saw Mother Qing anxiously guarding the door. "Eldest miss, it's not good." Master brought the people from the torture room and aggressively went to Fifth Aunt's courtyard. Mother Qing quickly came up and said, "What happened to father?" Yi Jioga turned around and went to Fifth Aunt's courtyard. "I heard that Fourth Miss's body was found." Master was so angry that he wanted to bury Fifth Aunt with Fourth Mississippi. Mother Qing also walked quickly. "What? Fourth sister's body was found? Who found it and where?" Yi Jioga was shocked. Was Yi Rui killed by Su Junqing? Then why didn't Yi Yu come to inform her? It can't be that he was also caught by Su Junqing, right? No, it can't be. Yi Yu is so clever. It's impossible for him to fail twice in the same ditch. This old servant is not clear. It was Master's follower, Song Bai, who brought back the news. "I heard that Fourth Miss died very miserably. Not only was her head separated from her body, her face was destroyed, and her spirit root was also dug out." Mother Qing's heart was very uncomfortable when she said this. In this world, there were such black-hearted people who would dig other people's spirit root to sell. Head separated from her body, face destroyed, spirit root dug out. Yi Jioga murmured and repeated, "Yes, I heard that Master is very angry. I'm afraid that Fifth Aunt can't escape this disaster." Mother Qing sighed again. At this time, in Fifth Aunt's room, Yi Yuxuan was furious and ordered Mother Gone, "Drag this slut out and beat her to death." When Fifth Aunt was pulled out of bed, she still didn't know what happened. However, she promised Yi Jioga to live well. She absolutely couldn't be beaten to death like this. She quickly begged Yi Yuxuan, "Master, please look at Rui's face and spare this concubine's life for the time being. When Rui comes back, you can beat or kill this concubine without any complaints." Before Yi Yuxuan could say anything, Su Yufeng pointed at the fifth concubine and scolded, "Pei, you still have the face to mention Rui. If it wasn't for you, slut, colluding with the thieves to kidnap Rui, how could she have died outside?" Her pained expression made it seem as if the one who died was her own daughter. "What did you say?" Fifth Aunt suddenly raised her head and stared at Su Yufeng. "What did you say about Rui?" "My poor Rui, how did she end up with such a heartless mother?" Su Yufeng covered her face with her handkerchief. Sobbing, she said, "Poor child, you died too unjustly." "No, impossible, Rui won't die. You lied to me, you lied to me." Fifth Aunt's eyes burst with blood. Like a mad tiger, she wanted to fight with Su Yufeng, but she was held down by Mother Gone. Master was right in front and would not allow Fifth Yin to be presumptuous. "Ai, if you knew this would happen, why did you do it? It's too late for you to regret it now." Su Yufeng sighed hypocritically and then said to Yi Yuxuan, "Master, I have inquired about it. After Fifth Aunt sold Rui, she got 1,000 taels of silver and hid it in the corner of this courtyard." I didn't. Fifth Aunt struggled desperately. Mother Gone and others almost couldn't hold her down. "It seems that you really won't shed a tear until you see the coffin." Su Yufeng narrowed her eyes and said to Ji Hua, "You take people to dig the corner of the courtyard. Let Master see how greedy this evil woman is. For 1,000 taels of silver, she sold her daughter." Ji Hua nodded and immediately took people to dig with a hoe. "Master, this concubine didn't sell Rui. All of this is Madam's conspiracy. Please help this concubine." Fifth aunt looked at Yuxuan with tears streaming down her face. She hoped that he could help her. Unfortunately, she was doomed to be disappointed. Not only did Yuxuan not help her, but he also lifted his foot to kick her heart. Yuxuan used all his strength in anger. This kick could even break a boulder, not to mention Fifth aunt's small body. Su Yufeng covered her mouth with a handkerchief to hide her proud expression. Mother Gan couldn't bear to look anymore. She was sure that Fifth aunt couldn't avoid this kick. At this moment, Yi Jioga rushed over. Seeing that it was too late to save Fifth aunt, she simply sent a palm wind towards Yuxuan, forcing him to stop. Evil creature! Yi Yuxuan didn't expect that Yi Jioga would dare to make a move against him. When he raised his hand to meet the enemy, his feet stopped. When Fifth aunt saw Yi Jioga, she immediately had a strong will to survive. She used all her strength to roll to the side and narrowly avoided Yuxuan's fatal kick. Jioga, you dare to make a move against your father? Su Yufeng's eyes suddenly lit up. This was simply a weakness that could be used against her. Father, I was just anxious for a moment. I hope father doesn't mind. Yi Jioga hurriedly helped Fifth aunt up. Seeing that she was fine, he let out a sigh of relief. He immediately raised his head to look at Su Yufeng and said sternly, "On the other hand, madam, seeing father make a mistake, not only did you not stop him, you even encouraged him to make mistakes again and again. Isn't this harming him? Jioga's mouth is really powerful. Is it still his fault that you beat up master?" Su Yufeng smiled contemptuously. Madam's words are really funny. Father is a spirit master and is a famous figure in Shangjing. How could he be beaten up by a small spirit master like me? If your words were to spread, I'm afraid you would be laughed at. What are your intentions? Yi Jioga sneered. Big sister, it's useless for you to quibble. Just now, you made a move against father. Everyone in the courtyard saw it. Yi Shanshan said from the side. You saw me make a move, but did you not see me save Fifth aunt? After Yi Jioga finished speaking, he said to Yuxuan, Father, no matter what, Fifth aunt is Rui's mother. If you kill her indiscriminately, won't Rui be heartbroken when she comes back? If Rui can come back, I naturally won't kill her. But now that Rui is dead, what's the point of keeping this bitch? Yi Yuxuan said hatefully. Father, you said Rui is dead. Where is her corpse? If Yi Jioga didn't see Rui's corpse with his own eyes, he definitely wouldn't believe that she was dead. Rui's corpse is still in the Ministry of Justice. As soon as Yi Yuxuan heard the news, he immediately brought people to kill Fifth aunt. He didn't even have time to bring Rui's corpse back. Father, I heard that the corpse was decapitated and its face was destroyed. How can you be sure that it was fourth sister? Yi Jioga asked again. Yi Yuxuan suddenly hesitated. He didn't want the corpse to be Rui. After all, that child had wood and fire spirit roots. Songbai, I heard that you were the one who sent the message today. Say it again. Yi Jioga's gaze turned and landed on Yi Yuxuan's follower. Chapter 42. Songbai looked at the master hesitantly. Seeing that he didn't stop him, he said, answering to eldest miss, Today the Ministry of Justice sent a message saying that they found a 7-year-old female corpse with a token from Yi Mansion, so they asked us to go and see if it's someone from Yi Mansion. So the Ministry of Justice didn't make a conclusion. How can father be sure that it's fourth sister? Yi Jioga asked. A 7-year-old female corpse with a token from Yi Mansion. Who else could it be other than Rui? Su Yufeng interrupted. And I have received reliable news that Fifth Inyang sold Rui to a black brothel that specializes in taking spiritual roots. The 1,000 taels of silver is buried in this yard. After that, she turned to ask Ji Hua, Did you find the box? Found it. Ji Hua came over with a servant woman and put a small box with a lock in front of everyone. The evidence is conclusive. What else can Fifth Inyang say? Su Yufeng pointed to the small box. I don't have it. Fifth Inyang shouted. I want to see what treasure is inside. Madam knows it better than Fifth Inyang. Yi Jioga kicked the small lock and opened the box to find a pile of broken stones, not silver at all. Su Yufeng's eyes widened and she almost shouted. She clearly asked Chiu Mama to bury the 1,000 taels of silver and Yi Rui in 5th Inyang's yard. How did it turn into stone? Madam, you keep saying that this box contains the money 5th Inyang sold her daughter. I didn't know that this broken stone is so precious that it's worth the life of her own daughter. Yi Jioga squinted at Su Yufeng. 5th Inyang must have secretly exchanged the silver. Su Yufeng gritted her teeth and said, "You're the one who said that it's buried here and you're the one who exchanged the silver. Madam, why don't you tell us where 5th Inyang exchanged the silver? Let's hurry and find it so that we don't waste Madam's efforts." Yi Jioga raised his voice so that everyone in the yard could hear him clearly. Su Yufeng didn't know where Chiu Mama put the silver. In order to avoid suspicion, Chiu Mama didn't live in Yi Mansion during this period of time. Now she couldn't find her. However, even if the silver disappeared, she still had a way to deal with 5th concubine. Master, I don't know where 5th Inyang got the news, but she actually transferred the silver away in advance. She is so cautious. No wonder she could bring people in and steal the Rui. Su Yufeng wiped her tears and said mournfully, "It's a pity that our Rui died so miserably." Madam, it's best if you don't cry. Yi Jioga sneered, turned his head and said to Yi Yuxuan, "Father, let's go to the Ministry of Justice to see if that girl is doing as she pleases. If it's just a misunderstanding and you're shouting and killing here, it would be bad if word of this got out." Yi Yuxuan cared about Face the most in his life, so of course he didn't want his own mansion to have such a reputation. He nodded and said, "All right, then let's go to the Ministry of Justice and take a look." "Master, I'll go with you." Su Yufeng was afraid that Yi Jioga was up to something. "I'll go too." Yi Shanshan wanted to watch the show. "Master?" 5th concubine also wanted to go, but Yi Jioga held her shoulder. 5th concubine will be locked in the prison first. Wait for father to come back before dealing with her. Yi Yuxuan was currently angry, so it was better for 5th concubine to avoid the limelight. Take her away." Yi Yuxuan ordered Mother gone. Then he waved his hand and brought Su Yufeng, Yi Shanshan, Yi Jioga, and the others to the Ministry of Justice. The person in charge of receiving them was Shangjing's most famous spirit hunter, Wan Zieng. He was about 25 years old, and his handsome facial features were deep as if they were carved by a knife. He was tall and straight, filled with the aura of a tough man, and had a cold and ruthless appearance. It was said that although he was born as a commoner, he was extremely talented and was an intermediate spiritualist at a young age. The Ministry of Justice spent a lot of effort to invite him over. When Wan Zieng saw Yi Yuxuan bringing his wife and daughter, he immediately frowned and said coldly, "The morgue is an important place in the Ministry of Justice. Only Master Yi is allowed to enter." "All right, all of you wait outside." Yi Yuxuan also knew that Wan Zieng's temper was famous for being cold. He did not give face to anyone, so he was too lazy to waste time arguing with him. "I want to go in as well." Yi Jioga stood in front of Wan Zieng and looked straight into his eyes. "Do you not understand human language?" Wan Zieng's eyes darkened, and his voice was as cold as ice. If it was a normal woman, she would have been scared to tears. "I suspect that the girl's corpse was deliberately used to frame my 4th sister, so I want to go in and examine it." Yi Jioga's eyes were like torches, and she did not back down. "You know how to examine corpses?" Wan Zieng's expression loosened a little. Yi Jioga nodded. Examining corpses was also a necessary skill for a former secret agent like her. "Jioga, what are you doing? Hurry up and back off." Yi Yuxuan shouted unhappily. Their Yi residence was an aristocratic family of alchemists. When did it become an aristocratic family of alchemists? "Do you have a way to examine a destroyed spiritual root?" Wan Zieng ignored Yi Yuxuan and asked. "If the spiritual root is destroyed, we can still examine the bones. Examining the bones is more reliable than examining the spiritual root." Yi Jioga said seriously, "Come in." Wan Zieng nodded, turned around, and walked towards the Ministry of Justice's prison. Yi Jioga immediately followed. Yi Yuxuan looked at the two of them with hatred, and followed behind them with a dark face. Although Yi Shanshan wanted to follow them, she did not dare to be presumptuous when she thought of Wan Ziang's sour face. She could only pull Su Yufeng's arm anxiously and asked in a low voice, "Mother, is that corpse really fourth sister?" Of course. Su Yufeng nodded. She believed that Su Junqing would not lie to her. When Su Junqing asked her for Yi Rui, she also suspected that Su Junqing was after Yi Rui's spiritual root. Now that Yi Rui had been captured for so long, it was time to take what should be taken. What was the point of keeping the corpse? That's good. Yi Shanshan immediately felt relieved. Yi Rui was dead, and Aunt Wu would not be able to live either. No matter what Yi Jioga said, it would be useless. Moreover, Yi Jioga had contradicted her father for Aunt Wu, so her father would definitely not tolerate her anymore. When the time came, they would find her father and join forces. They did not believe that they could not kill Yi Jioga. At this moment, Yi Jioga and Wan Ziang had just walked to the morgue behind the Ministry of Justice. Although the room was very spacious, there was only a black coffin in it. The entire room was filled with a strange stench. This morgue is specially used for unsolved cases. As Wan Ziang spoke, he opened the coffin from the side, and it happened to be facing Yi Yuxuan and Yi Jioga. Yi Yuxuan almost vomited when he smelled the stench coming from the coffin. He immediately covered his nose and distanced himself from the coffin. Yi Jioga had already noticed Wan Ziang's little trick. He did not say anything and covered his mouth and nose with a handkerchief. After the stench drifted away, he moved closer to the coffin and carefully observed it. Chapter 43. Inside the coffin was the naked corpse of a headless girl. Her body was filled with knife and whip wounds and had been soaked in water until it had turned white, emitting a rotting smell. The head placed beside the corpse was even more tragic. The facial features had been cut off and the spiritual roots at the back of the head had been dug out. All that was left was a head of messy black hair. It was impossible to tell what she looked like. "Lord Wan, where did you find this girl's corpse? What was the situation like?" Yi Jioga asked solemnly. This girl's corpse was discovered by the villagers of Three Bends village. Because the longevity lock on the corpse had the 3 words Yi Rui carved on it, we came to your Yi residence. After Wan Ziang finished speaking, he took out a wooden plate from the side. On it, there were 5 exquisite pieces of jewelry that were used by girls. In the middle, there was a longevity lock made of old silver. On it, there was an image of a blossoming flower. On the back, there were the 3 words Yi Rui. This longevity lock is indeed from our Yi residence, Yi Yuxuan said with a frown. This longevity lock was originally designed by a craftsman, specially made for the girls in the residence. Although Yi Rui was not valued by him, she was still his daughter. Therefore, this longevity lock was still there. Yi Jioga did not ask any more questions. Instead, she opened her spiritual eye and carefully examined the corpse before saying, "This is a 7-year-old girl. She should have died yesterday at the hour of the morning. Before she died, she was violated and abused. After her death, her head was chopped off and soaked in water." The more Wan Ziang heard, the more shocked he was. Originally, he only wanted to try and let Yi Jioga in. He did not expect her to be able to say so many things. Furthermore, it was even more comprehensive than the coroner. Then is this corpse Rui's? Yi Yuxuan was only concerned about this question. "I can't be sure about this. Let's first examine the bones to see if it's a fire or wood spiritual root." Yi Jioga did not dare to make a rash judgment. "How do you intend to examine the bones? Do you want the coroner to help?" Wan Ziang wanted the coroner to secretly learn from him. "Sure. Also, ask him to help me prepare the withering grass, white swansea." Yi Jioga said the names of 5 herbs in one breath. These were the ingredients for examining the bones later. "Sure." Wan Ziang nodded. He went out and called for a bailiff, asking him to immediately ask the coroner, Bai Songling, to prepare the herbs that Yi Jioga needed. Soon Bai Songling came over with the herbs. Yi Jioga had thought that coroners were all eccentric old men, but Bai Songling turned out to be very young. He was in his early 20s and wore a green robe. His skin was like jade, his lips were red, his teeth were white, and his smile was bashful. He looked like a delicate scholar. However, Yi Jiuge felt that Bai Songling wasn't as weak as she looked, but she couldn't tell exactly how strong she was. Bai Songling was also quite surprised to see Yi Jiuge standing beside the coffin. She then looked at Yi Yuxuan, who was far away from the coffin, and didn't know who to give the medicine bag to. "Give it to me." Yi Jiuge took the initiative to take the medicine bag. He opened it and found that the medicine inside was all good medicine. It was obvious that it was carefully selected. Bai Songling walked to Wan Xiang's side and asked in a low voice, "What happened?" He had thought that Yi Yuxuan would personally examine the corpse. How could it be Yi Jiuge? One had to know that Yi Jiuge's reputation in Shangjing was not good. Anyone who mentioned her would call her an idiot, useless, and ugly girl. Just watch. Wan Xiang didn't say much. Although he was a little surprised by Yi Jiuge's autopsy, he reserved his evaluation of her before the results came out. "Lord Wan, can you find a place for me to make the medicine?" Nowadays, people paid attention to exclusive secret recipes, so Yi Jiuge's request was very reasonable. Yes. There was a small room in the morgue that was specially used to store autopsy items. Yi Jiuge walked into the small house and quickly crushed these herbs, mixing them together. Finally, he concocted an ink-black solution. She put the medicine into a small porcelain bottle and came out to borrow a boning knife from Bai Songling. She quickly removed all the hair, skin, and flesh on the girl's Baihui acupoint, revealing the clean and white skull. Wan Xiang and Bai Songling's eyelids twitched. Yi Jiuge's technique was more sophisticated than the most experienced coroner in the Ministry of Justice. "This is the bone-testing liquid I made. As long as you apply it to the Baihui acupoint, you can see the spiritual root and bone structure of this corpse. If it's the spiritual root of wood or fire, it will turn green and red." Yi Jiuge said and poured a few drops of the ink-black solution on the girl's head. In an instant, the white skull was dyed black. After a while, there was no change in the skull. It was still dark. "What does this mean?" Bai Songling couldn't help but ask. "It means that this girl is just a mortal and has no spiritual root." Although Yi Jiuge had already guessed that the girl was not Yi Rui, she still couldn't help but feel relieved. "Are you sure?" Wan Xiang asked with a frown. Why did he feel that Yi Jiuge was a little childish? How could she determine the girl's identity with a random bottle of medicine? "Of course." Yi Jiuge said, "If Lord Wan doesn't believe me, you can find someone with spiritual root to try." But Wan Xiang reached out to Yi Jiuge. It seemed that he wanted to test it himself. Yi Jiuge generously handed the bottle to Wan Xiang and followed him to the morgue next door. This morgue was bigger than the previous one. It was said that it was specially used to store the bodies of spiritualists. Wan Xiang casually opened a coffin on the side. Lying inside was a middle-aged man with a wretched appearance. The cause of death was a big hole in his chest. The wound was dark and it could be seen that it was caused by fire's spiritual power. Yi Yuxuan curiously looked at it and asked, "Is this person the flower thief who committed crimes in Mianyang County some time ago?" Wan Xiang rudely cut off the scalp of the flower thief and then poured a little bone-testing liquid on it. The black liquid immediately turned into a rich cyan. "I heard that this flower thief is a wood spiritual root and is best at hiding. It seems that it's true. Lord Wan can catch him. It's really amazing." Yi Yuxuan looked at Wan Xiang's eyes with more appreciation. The flower thief has been rampant for many years, and all the spirit hunters couldn't do anything about him. Later, when Wan Xiang took action, he brought his body back directly. Grandmaster Yi is overpraising. Although Wan Xiang is arrogant, he is not a fool. Yi Yuxuan is also a master of alchemy. If he takes the initiative to make friends with him, he will not push him out. "Lord Wan." Just as Yi Yuxuan was about to befriend Wan Xiang, he was interrupted by Yi Jiuge. "Lord Wan, although that girl is not my fourth sister, she must have been wronged for dying so miserably. Please, Lord Wan, you must arrest the real culprit. This is natural. In fact, we have long found that many girls have been lost in the nearby villages, but their families have not come to report it. It is difficult for us to trace it." When Wan Xiang said this, his sharp eyes looked at Yi Yuxuan. "I don't know how the fourth miss of Yi Mansion was lost." Chapter 44. My daughter was lost when I went out. We have already found some clues. Lord Wan, you don't have to worry about it. Yi Yuxuan acted as if finding a daughter was just a small matter. Yi Jioga knew that Yi Yuxuan cared about his face and would never bring the scandal in the mansion to the Ministry of Justice. Whether the fifth aunt really had an affair with someone or not, it would not be good if it was spread out. So she did not say anything. Wan Ziang also knew that the relationship between these big families was complicated, so he did not ask any more. Lord Wan, I have another request. I hope that the Ministry of Justice will not spread what happened today, so as not to damage my daughter's reputation. The girl died so miserably and was violated before she died. Yi Yuxuan did not want to have anything to do with her at all. Wan Ziang suddenly felt that it was a little funny. His whole family had come to the Ministry of Justice. Even if he didn't say it, others would be able to guess what was going on. However, since Yi Yuxuan had already spoken, he nodded and agreed, of course. Bai Songling added with a smile, Master Yi, don't worry. The Ministry of Justice is famous for keeping a tight mouth. We will not leak anything. However, please keep the bone examination a secret. Otherwise, if the criminals know about it, I'm afraid they will not leave us any bones in the future. Yi Jioga did not wait for Yi Yuxuan to speak and said, of course, my father and I will definitely keep it a secret. If anything is leaked, our Yi mansion will be despised by millions of people. Yi Yuxuan saw that Yi Jioga swore on his Yi mansion and was immediately angry. However, he could not teach her a lesson in front of Wan Ziang and Bai Songling, so he could only force a smile and said, we will never say anything about the bone examination. Then I thank Master Yi and Miss Yi for your cooperation on behalf of the Ministry of Justice. Bai Songling solemnly thanked them. Lord Bai, although this girl wasn't my fourth sister, I feel that her death was quite pitiful. If there are any developments in the case, could you send someone to inform me? That would make me feel better. Yi Jioga spoke with sincerity. Hearing this, Yi Yuxuan immediately frowned. He did not want to have anything to do with these messy things. However, on second thought, Bai Songling and Wan Ziang were both upstarts in the Ministry of Justice and had a lot of face in front of the emperor. It was good to take this opportunity to build a good relationship with him, so he did not object. Miss Yi, please rest assured. If there is any progress, I will inform you immediately. Bai Songling glanced at the bone-testing liquid in Wan Ziang's hand and asked tentatively, I wonder if Miss Yi is willing to part with the formula of the bone-testing liquid. I'm sorry. Although the method to concoct this potion is simple, it is still my clan's secret recipe. I do not dare to part with it. If you two sirs need it, I will send a few bottles over, Yi Jioga said apologetically. Although the medicine used for this bone-testing water was simple, the requirements for the ratio were very strict. It could be considered as her exclusive secret recipe, so of course, she wouldn't easily give it to others. Although the medicine was simple, it was very strict. It was also her. I was too impulsive. Bai Songling was not angry even though he was rejected. Instead, he was still smiling. Master Yi Miss Yi, Tuan Bai Bai Yi Tu and Chi. Master Yi Miss Yi, take care. Bai Songling and Wan Ziang still had work to do, so they asked the runners to send them out. On the way out, Yi Jioga took the opportunity to criticize Yi Yuxuan. Father, don't you think it is a little strange? The Ministry of Justice just sent someone to send the news. Madam found out that Madam Wu sold her daughter's money. She was also sure that fourth sister was sold to the Black Kiln to dig spiritual roots. It is really suspicious. Although Yi Yuxuan did not speak, his face darkened. When they left the Ministry of Justice, they saw Su Yufeng and Yi Shanshan were still waiting outside. Mother Qing stood behind them and looked at Yi Jioga anxiously. Yi Jioga deliberately made a very painful expression and shook his head at Mother Qing. Su Yufeng immediately covered her mouth with a handkerchief and cried sadly, My poor Rui, how could you die so miserably? Sob sob, fourth sister, my poor fourth sister. Yi Shanshan also cried. Yi Yuxuan's face immediately became very ugly. He shouted angrily, Why are you crying? Rui is not dead. Su Yufeng stopped crying and looked at Yi Yuxuan in disbelief. Rui is not dead? How is this possible? As soon as she said it, she knew it was bad. She quickly explained, I mean, you look so sad, as if something happened to Rui. Shut up. Yi Yuxuan suddenly interrupted Su Yufeng and glared at her fiercely. I'll settle the score with you when we get back. With that, he swung his sleeves and got into the carriage. After returning to the Yi mansion, Yi Yuxuan angrily called Su Yufeng to the study. He slapped the table and asked, Su Yufeng, tell me the truth. Were you the one behind the matter of Fifth Aunt and Rui? Master, I'm innocent. I definitely didn't do these things. Su Yufeng quickly shook her head and denied. Humph, do you think I don't know who you are? It's fine if you are jealous and suppress Fifth Aunt. I didn't expect you to even dare to do something to my own daughter. I think your courage is getting bigger and bigger. Yi Yuxuan picked up a celadone teacup and fiercely threw it to the ground. Tea and debris splattered everywhere, drenching Su Yufeng's skirt. She was so scared that her body trembled, but she knew that she couldn't admit it even if she was beaten to death. Chapter 45. Su Yufeng frowned, called Ji Hua in and asked, Ji Hua, is Mrs. Chiu back? Mrs. Chiu just came back. Ji Hua knew that her wife was very concerned about Mrs. Chiu's movements recently, so she was always paying attention. Call her here. Su Yufeng gritted her teeth and said. Ji Hua quickly brought Mrs. Chiu over. I don't know why Mrs. Chiu is looking for me? Mrs. Chiu asked respectfully. You still have the face to ask? Su Yufeng slammed the table and asked angrily, I told you to bury 1,000 taels of silver and Yi Rui's indenture in the Fifth Aunt's yard. How did those things turn into stone? I'm innocent. I did bury things in the yard as you ordered. I don't know how they turned into stone. Mrs. Chiu knelt down in fear and said anxiously, could it be that the Fifth Aunt found a clue and secretly exchanged the silver? Su Yufeng squinted at Mrs. Chiu and thought of something. Her anger suddenly subsided. She nodded and said, it's possible. After all, the Fifth Aunt has always been crafty. It's not surprising that she exchanged the silver. It's all my fault. I thought that the Fifth Aunt was lying in bed and relaxed. That's why things went wrong. Please punish me, Mrs. Chiu. Mrs. Chiu said guiltily. This can't be blamed on you. Forget it, you can leave. Su Yufeng said lightly. Thank you, Mrs. Chiu. Mrs. Chiu thanked her gratefully, then bowed and stepped back to leave. Su Yufeng looked at Mrs. Chiu's departing figure and a cold light flashed in her eyes. The next morning, she took a car to the Su mansion. This time Su Junqing was at home. As soon as he saw Su Yufeng, he smiled and said, Aunt came to see me. Is everything settled? Settled my ass. Su Yufeng cursed. She pointed at Su Junqing and scolded, You stinking brat. You really made me miserable. You casually found a girl's corpse to impersonate Yi Rui. Do you really think that those people in the Ministry of Justice are fools? What? The Ministry of Justice saw through the body? How is that possible? Su Junqing was a little surprised. The girl's figure was exactly the same as Yi Rui's, and she was wearing Yi Rui's clothes, jewelry, and longevity lock. How could the people from the Ministry of Justice recognize her? How would I know? Master is certain that the girl's body isn't Yi Rui's, Su Yufeng snapped. Su Junqing frowned slightly. Only Wan Xiang and Bai Songling could see through the disguise of the corpse. These two people were really difficult to deal with. They kept a close eye on his secret businesses, which made him hate them to the bone. He wanted nothing more than to get rid of them. Unfortunately, the cultivation of those two people was too high. He had sent people to kill them several times but to no avail. Instead, he had lost a lot of people. This was really difficult. Su Yufeng saw that her nephew's expression was unsightly and thought that her tone was too harsh. She softened her tone and said, Junqing, it's not that Auntie wants to scold you, but Yi Rui can't be left alive. Auntie, don't worry. Yi Rui won't live for more than 7 days, Su Junqing said with certainty. Why did you stay so long? Su Yufeng frowned. Even if he wanted to play with little girls, there were plenty in Drunken Cloud Pavilion. Why did he have to hold on to Yi Rui? Auntie doesn't need to worry about this. I heard that cousin and the crown prince have been traveling a lot recently. It seems that their good times are near. Su Junqing faintly smiled and changed the topic. Su Yufeng couldn't force her nephew too much. After all, he was the future successor of the Su family. She still had to rely on him, so she said, "Shan Shan, that girl is not sensible. I still need you to put in a few good words for her in front of the crown prince." "Auntie, don't worry. Nephew will definitely help cousin achieve her wish." Su Junqing smiled. "That's right. How is the investigation of Yunyang?" Su Yufeng asked again. Although she suspected that it was Yi Jioge who did it, it was hard to guarantee that it wasn't someone from another faction before finding evidence. After all, there were too many people who were jealous of their Su family. "Haven't found it yet." Su Junqing was unhappy when he talked about this matter. He had nurtured Yunyang for so many years and even taught her the bewitching technique. Just as he was about to succeed, he didn't expect her to be killed. It was a huge loss. "I think it's best to be stricter in Drunken Cloud Pavilion. Nephew understands." "That's right, I have one more thing I need your help with." Su Yufeng lowered her voice and carefully told Su Junqing. "It's just a small matter. Auntie, don't worry. Nephew will definitely help you cut the weeds and eliminate the roots." Su Junqing nodded. "It's best to throw this matter to Yi Jioge," Su Yufeng said with a gloomy face. "This is a bit difficult," Su Junqing said hesitantly. After Yi Jioge returned from the 10,000 feet abyss, there were a lot of people watching her. Making a move on Yi Jioge now would be very disadvantageous to them. "Even if it's difficult, we have to do it," Su Yufeng said while gnashing her teeth. Yi Jioge had repeatedly ruined her plans. She couldn't bear it for another day. "Nephew will do his best to help you." Seeing that his aunt helped him get Yurui, he would try to think of a way. While Su Junqing and Su Yufeng were discussing how to deal with Yi Jioge was sitting in the Misty Rain tea house and drinking tea with Wan Ziang. "May I know why Lord Wan is looking for me?" Yi Jioge drank half a pot of tea and still didn't see Wan Ziang speak. She really couldn't bear it anymore. "I came to tell you that there's been some progress in the case of that little girl." Wan Ziang put down the teacup. He thought that Yi Jioge would finish the pot of tea before speaking. "Oh, what's the progress?" Yi Jioge's eyes suddenly lit up. When she examined the corpse, she suspected that the little girl was killed by a perverted customer in Drunken Cloud Pavilion and was then thrown into the water to impersonate Yurui. She wrote an anonymous letter to Wan Ziang to investigate Drunken Cloud Pavilion. She didn't expect him to act so quickly. That little girl was secretly sold by her stepmother to Drunken Cloud Pavilion and was later abused to death. Wan Ziang said with a heavy expression. Although he had already arrested the little girl's stepmother, because Drunken Cloud Pavilion refused to admit it, he didn't have enough evidence to make a move on them. He was really depressed. Yi Jioge was also somewhat silent. Although she had already guessed the reason, she still felt very uncomfortable in her heart. Such a small child died too miserably. "Eldest Miss Yi, don't you find it strange that your fourth sister's longevity lock is hanging on that little girl's body?" Wan Ziang's probing gaze fell on Yi Jioge. When he received the anonymous letter yesterday afternoon, he suspected that it was Yi Jioge who sent it. Because the timing was too coincidental. To be honest, this woman Yi Jioge made him a bit unable to see through. The people of Shangjing all said that Yi Jioge was an idiot, waste, and ugly woman. But at present, other than the word ugly, it didn't seem like it. "It's not strange." Yi Jioge shook her head. "What do you mean?" Wan Ziang frowned. He thought that Yi Jioge really wanted to find his sister. Could it be that he guessed wrong? Chapter 46. Because Drunken Cloud Pavilion is the Su family's property. Yi Jioge said word by word. The Su family's property? Wan Ziang's pupils shrank. No wonder he couldn't find out who the boss behind Drunken Cloud Pavilion was. It was the Su family. No, wasn't Yi Yuxuan's wife Su Yufeng a daughter of the Su family? How did fourth Miss Ye's longevity lock appear on the girl's body? Could it be that Yi Yuxuan was captured by the Su family? That's right, just as Lord Wan thinks, my fourth sister was captured by the Su family. Yi Jioge smiled bitterly and said, "I'm not afraid to laugh at you. My stepmother failed to murder me, So she set her sights on my fourth sister and her daughter. I only hate that I'm not capable enough to protect them. Damn the Su family. Wan Xiang's usually expressionless handsome face suddenly cracked. His anger overflowed. His sharp eyes were bloodshot and he seemed to have turned into a beast. Yi Jioga didn't expect Wan Xiang to be so angry. But looking at his expression, it seemed more like he was venting his anger. Could it be that he had the same experience? If that was the case, then she could have asked Wan Xiang to help her find Yi Rui. Unfortunately, Yi Yu's identity was sensitive and related to the treasure map. Otherwise, she could have asked Wan Xiang to help her. After Wan Xiang realized he had lost his composure, he quickly controlled his emotions and changed back to his previous cold appearance. He said stiffly, "Miss Yi, if you have any clues about Yi Yuxuan, you can find me. I will definitely help." "Thank you, Lord Wan." Yi Jioga showed a grateful expression. "No need to thank me." Wan Xiang didn't say anything else. There was another awkward silence in the room. Yi Jioga pretended to look at the sky. This Wan Xiang was too difficult to talk to. She wanted to leave. "It's getting late, I'll send Miss Yi back." Wan Xiang stood up. Ever since he knew that the Su family had ulterior motives towards Yi Jioga, he suddenly felt that Yi Jioga was very weak and needed his protection. Yi Jioga nodded and walked out of the tea house with Wan Xiang. He didn't expect to bump into the Crown Prince and Yi Shanshan. Yi Shanshan saw Yi Jioga and Wan Xiang and rolled her eyes. She suddenly covered her mouth and laughed. "Big sister lied to me that you came out to buy things. It turns out that you came out to drink tea with Yi Darren. I was wondering why Big Sister dared to break off the engagement with the Crown Prince. It turns out that you found a backer." When the Crown Prince heard this, his face turned ashen. His slender eyes glared fiercely at Yi Jioga. Ever since Yi Jioga broke off the engagement on the spot, he had already said in private that whoever dared to marry Yi Jioga would be going against him. He didn't expect that Wan Xiang would actually dare to be so close to Yi Jioga. He clearly didn't put him in his eyes. Chapter 47. Before Yi Jioga entered the carriage, she turned around and said guiltily to Wan Xiang, "I'm sorry, I was too impulsive and caused you to offend the Crown Prince. I'm really sorry." Actually, Yi Jioga didn't feel sorry at all. Since she wanted to rope in Wan Xiang, she naturally had to turn her enemy into his enemy. "Don't worry about it." Wan Xiang shook his head. In any case, he didn't like the Crown Prince, who was treacherous and overzealous. But the Crown Prince is the Crown Prince. If he wants to deal with you, you'll be at a disadvantage. Wan Xiang was truly worried for Yi Jioga. So what? Not just the Crown Prince, even if it's the Emperor, if he dares to offend me, I'll beat him. Yi Jioga's red lips curled up. Her phoenix eyes were deep and her aura was silent. It was like a blazing fire that couldn't be looked at directly. Wan Xiang's heart shook. He inexplicably felt that Yi Jioga's aura was much more pleasing to the eye than those delicate ladies in the capital. "Be careful on your way back. If you encounter any trouble, come find me." Wan Xiang used to be afraid of trouble, but this time, he really wanted to help Yi Jioga. "Thank you." Yi Jioga smiled and said goodbye. Just as she entered the carriage, Zi Shang's cold voice rang in her ear. "That brat can't have fallen for you, right? You think too much. Not everyone has such a heavy taste like you." Yi Jioga rolled her eyes. Just looking at her face full of black scars, even he would feel disgusted. Only Zi Shang would be able to eat her. "Don't insult my taste," Zi Shang said coldly. It was rare that Yi Jioga didn't mock him. Although she was a bit ugly now, having a devilish handsome man protecting her still made her feel good. "Alright, when you beat up the Crown Prince, what did you take?" Zi Shang asked. "You're quite observant." "I'm just collecting a small amount of interest." Yi Jioga flipped her palm, revealing a dark green jade pendant in her palm. This jade pendant was carved with a dragon and phoenix. It was green like a pool of water. It was obviously not an ordinary item. "There's something strange about this pendant," Zi Shang suddenly said. "What's strange?" Yi Jioga looked at it carefully. Other than its good looks, there was nothing special about it. "Try pressing down on the eyes of the dragon and phoenix at the same time," Zi Shang said. Yi Jioga pressed the button according to Zi Shang's instructions. There was a cracking sound. The jade pendant split in the middle, revealing a silk scroll as thin as a cicada's wing. Yi Jioga opened it and was immediately shocked. It was actually a map with a mountain and river diagram. It was clearly an incomplete treasure map. No wonder the crown prince wanted to hunt down the Yi clan. He had already obtained half of the treasure map and was only missing the Yi clan's half. Your luck is really heaven-defying. Zi Shang really admired Yi Jioga's luck. The crown prince hid the treasure map in his jade pendant and carried it with him every day. He probably thought that the most dangerous place was the safest place. Who would have thought that they would run into a guy like Yi Jioga, who took the jade pendant away without anyone noticing? You flatter me. Yi Jioga was grinning from ear to ear. Although she wasn't very interested in the treasure map, the thought of the crown prince losing the jade pendant made her feel very happy. Yi Jioga roped in a helper and stole a priceless jade pendant. She returned to Purple Forest Park in a good mood. As soon as she entered her room, she smelled an extremely faint smell of blood coming from the corner of the door. She hurriedly looked down and saw a slender figure dressed in black slowly appear in the corner. His beautiful face was deathly pale. It was Yi Yu, who had disappeared for a long time. What's wrong? Yi Jioga hurriedly helped Yi Yu up. Eldest miss, I found Yi Rui. Hurry and save her, Yi Yu said with difficulty. He then stuffed a piece of white cloth stained with blood into her hands. Don't speak. Let me take a look at your injuries first. Yi Jioga felt Yi Yu's pulse and her expression became serious. There was an extremely cold aura in Yi Yu's body. His organs had all shifted and there was a wound on his abdomen. Blood had soaked through the white bandage. He was in a very critical situation. Yi Jioga hurriedly took out thunderfire needles and sealed the acupoints on his abdomen. Then he stuffed a few foundation-strengthening pills into his mouth. Although Yi Yu's wounds were no longer bleeding after taking the pills, he was still unconscious. His long eyelashes were purple, his lips were cracked and pale, and his breathing was very unstable. It would be great if he had a 9 reincarnation soul pill at this time. Yi Jioga knew that Yi Yuxuan had a bottle in his furnace, but it was impossible to ask him for it. Zi Shang, can you help me hide? Yi Jioga could only ask for Zi Shang's help. Of course, just 2 kisses. Zi Shang replied slowly. Damn you, wasn't it just 1 kiss last time? How dare he raise the price? How shameless. Yeah, it was so cheap last time. Who told you not to? Zi Shang looked like he felt pity for Yi Yu. Motherf asterisk cur. 2 then. Yi Yu's injuries couldn't be delayed any longer. At most, he would just treat it as if he was bitten by a dog. It's bitten by a snake. Zi Shang said seriously. This concept couldn't be messed up. Whatever. Yi Jioga stood up and said, I want to go to Yi Yuxuan's furnace. Help me hide now. Sure, time limit is 1 hour. The moment Zi Shang finished speaking, Yi Jioga felt a mysterious power covering her body. She quickly walked out of the courtyard, and the servants along the way all ignored her. Yi Jioga smoothly arrived at Yi Yuxuan's pill refining room. Come with me to save her now. Yi Jioga handed the topographic map that Yi Yu gave to her to Wan Xing. Bai Songling looked over and suddenly said in surprise, West Main Street 13. Isn't this the 100 Herb Hall's medicine storehouse? 100 Herb Hall? Yi Jioga remembered. Last time when Yi Yu was poisoned, she went to buy the purple serene grass and was followed by the Imperial Guards in 100 Herb Hall. Could it be that the Crown Prince was also involved in Yi Rui's matter? Let's go take a look. Wan Zieng put away the topographic map, changed into black clothes with Bai Songling, and followed Yi Jioga to West Main Street. During this time, Shangjing was under curfew. After dark, no one came in or out. West Main Street was also quiet. The 3 of them arrived at West Main Street 13 without any problems. From the outside, this simple courtyard was no different from the other houses. But after climbing over the wall, they could feel the tense atmosphere inside. Not only were there guards patrolling, but there were also many wolf dogs. One of the tall and ferocious wolf dog opened its mouth and was about to howl when it saw Yi Jioge and the other two landing. Bai Songling raised her hand and threw a green light at the wolf dog, and it fell to the ground. Wan Ziang gestured to Yi Jioge, indicating that they should directly go to the basement to see the situation. Yi Jioge nodded. Seeing how the courtyard was heavily guarded, Yi Rui shouldn't have been moved. They could still make it if they went there now. Next, Wan Ziang and Bai Songling cooperated and advanced. If they encountered any guards or wolf dogs that they couldn't avoid, they would immediately fall to the ground. The three of them quickly arrived at the basement door that Yi Yu marked with blood. When they opened the door, they saw a stone staircase spiraling downwards. Yi Jioge raised his guard and followed the staircase to the basement step by step. He quickly walked down the black staircase, and was immediately stunned by the scene in front of him. He saw that it was a stone room. The naked corpses of girls were piled up randomly like garbage. The floor was stained with blood, and under the dim light, it reflected a frightening light. Among these girls, the oldest was only 15 years old, and the youngest was 7 years old. Everyone's face was filled with extreme fear and pain. Their naked bodies were covered with wounds, and each of their wrists were badly mutilated. Not even blood could flow out. Yi Jioge couldn't help but shudder. She remembered the letter that Yi Yunji left for Yi Yu. It said that Su Junqing needed the blood of virgins to cultivate the bewitching art, so he had been using the blood of girls to cultivate. He also established the Drunken Cloud Pavilion to buy and sell these girls. Su Junqing. Wan Ziang said each word with a pause, as if he wanted to crush these 3 words into pieces. The expression on his face was incomparably terrifying. Yi Jioge calmed herself down and quickly looked through the bodies of the girls. She didn't find Yi Rui's. According to Yunji, Su Junqing would usually leave the girls with the best aptitude for later. Sometimes he would even raise them for other purposes. He shouldn't have acted so quickly. There is another secret room here. It is behind the 3rd oil lamp on the left. Zi Shang took the initiative to say. Yi Jioge hurriedly walked to the wall on the left. Then she grabbed the 3rd oil lamp and forcefully pulled it down. The wall opened to both sides, revealing a narrow secret room. There was a stone bed in the secret room, and on the bed lay a beautiful girl. Her skin was white and tender, and her facial features were exquisite. She was dressed in a vermilion satin dress embroidered with 100 butterflies. She wore a pair of silk shoes embroidered with pearls, a gold necklace around her neck, and 2 gold bracelets on her arms. Her makeup was neat and tidy, and she looked like a gift that had been meticulously decorated. Chapter 50. 4th Sister. Yi Jioge immediately recognized that the beautiful girl was Yi Rui. She quickly went up to take her pulse and was relieved to find that she was only poisoned by sleeping incense. At this moment, Wan Ziang had already searched the cellar and said solemnly, "Aside from the 4th miss, no one is alive." She said, "No. Isn't there no one upstairs?" Yi Jioge's expression was cold. The evil practitioner cultivated death qi and resentment qi. The wounds on the girls must be his work. Wan Ziang also thought of this and quickly walked up the stairs. Yi Jioge carried Yi Rui and followed Wan Ziang out of the cellar. Bai Songling was guarding the evil practitioner. She saw the girl in Yi Rui's arms and asked, "Is this 4th Miss Yi?" Yi Jioge took out a piece of black cloth from her bag and wrapped Yi Rui tightly so that she wouldn't be recognized. Bai Songling looked at Wan Ziang and was about to ask about the situation down there. However, Wan Ziang suddenly pulled the vines out of the evil cultivator's mouth, grabbed his hair, and asked fiercely, "Where did you get those girls down there?" The evil practitioner laughed strangely. "They're just some useless girls. If they die, then they die. Why are you so excited?" Wan Ziang was furious and punched the evil practitioner's abdomen. The evil practitioner curled up in pain, but he still had a strange smile on his face. It was indescribably strange. Wan Ziang wanted to hit him again. Yi Jioge had already stepped forward and kicked the evil practitioner's mouth. There was a cracking sound. The evil practitioner's teeth all fell out and he even spat out blood. Tell me the truth and you'll suffer less. Otherwise, I have plenty of ways to deal with you. Yi Jioga's eyes were cold. She wouldn't be stingy to deal with this evil practitioner who was worse than a beast. The evil practitioner smiled with his mouth full of blood. His sinister gaze fell on Yi Jioga and he said vaguely, "Do you think you can save this girl? You'll be crying in the future. You dare threaten me when you're about to die? You're courting death." Wan Ziang punched him again. However, that evil cultivator was very stubborn. Even if he was beaten to death by Wan Ziang, he still refused to reveal any information. There's no way to beat him. We have to use other methods to deal with him. Yi Jioga stretched out his hand to stop Wan Ziang. What do you have in mind? Wan Ziang shook off the blood on his fist. This man in black was definitely a tough nut to crack. Yi Jioga was just a weak girl, so what could she do? I will not divulge the secret recipe. Just wait here for me. Naturally, Yi Jioga wanted Zi Shang's help. However, Zi Shang was a demon after all. If Wan Ziang and Bai Songling saw him, they would probably capture him immediately. Therefore, she carried the heretic into the cellar. Bitch, look at how ugly you are. Even if you lay down and beg me, I won't be interested in you. The evil cultivator spat out a mouthful of bloody saliva. His eyes were sinister. It was obvious that he wanted to provoke Yi Jioga. Is that so? Yi Jioga pulled down his mask, revealing his scarred face. Then, a pair of cold purple vertical pupils appeared in her eyes. They reflected a demonic light in the dim light, and even her face became extremely strange. Demon, are you a demon? The evil cultivator opened his eyes wide and looked at Yi Jioga in horror. Have you heard that demons love to eat people's hearts? They dig them out and cut them into pieces to taste. It's wonderful. Yi Jioga's red lips curled up. The purple light in her eyes became even brighter and her voice became even deeper. There's also a human brain. Open up the top of the skull and scoop it out to eat. The person is still alive and twitching. It's especially interesting. Do you want to taste your own brain? The evil cultivator shuddered. Although he was a heretic, he was still a human after all. He would also be afraid if he had to watch helplessly as his heart and brain were dug out. Please give me a quick death. The evil cultivator no longer had the arrogance he had just now. He wanted to kneel down and beg for mercy, so he quickly begged. If you tell me the truth, I will consider giving you a quick death. Yi Jioga smiled gently. I will definitely tell you the truth. The evil cultivator nodded. Then let me ask you, does the crown prince know that Su Junqing is cultivating the bewitching art? Where did you get these girls? Why did you dress Yurui up like this? Where is Yunji now? How did you see through the Yi clan's invisibility technique? Yi Jioga asked many questions in one breath. Crown Prince doesn't know that Su Junqing is cultivating the bewitching art here. Some of these girls were bought, and some were captured. Su Junqing dressed Yurui up like this to give her to someone else because girls with wood and fire spirit roots are very rare. Yi Yunji has already been sent away by Su Junqing, but I don't know where he sent her, the evil cultivator replied honestly. Although he was powerful, he couldn't go out during the day because he cultivated resentment, so he could only rely on Su Junqing. Su Junqing used blood to cultivate, and he collected the resentment of the girls who died tragically for cultivation. They were just taking what they needed. Although Yi Yu's invisibility technique was powerful, it was completely useless against a heretic who lived in the dark. So, he was discovered as soon as he came in and injured with a palm. The evil cultivator was conceited and thought that Yi Yu would definitely die, so he didn't report it to Su Junqing. Lord, I was threatened by Su Junqing, so I had no choice but to help him. Please spare my life. I'm willing to be your subordinate and serve you, the evil cultivator said humbly. The evil cultivator said humbly. He felt that since this demon lord was lurking in the human race, he must need helpers. At this moment, Zi Shang also said, if you want him to be your subordinate, I can help you sign a slave contract with him. Yi Jioga glanced at the girls who died tragically behind the evil cultivator. Su Junqing only needed virgin blood, not resentment. The wounds on those girls were caused by this evil cultivator. Also, The girl who died tragically in the morgue must be the work of this evil cultivator. This kind of trash would only be disgusting in the world, so she didn't want him no matter how powerful he was. Lord. The evil cultivator wanted to continue begging, but he saw Yi Jioga smile coldly. Go to hell and atone for your sins. With that, he crushed the evil cultivator's heart with a palm. Wan Zhang and Bai Songling were waiting anxiously in the basement. When they saw Yi Jioga come up, they hurriedly asked, "How is it? Did you get anything from him?" This is indeed Su Juanqing's secret chamber. He not only collects girls to cultivate his evil arts, but also selects qualified girls to give to others, but he doesn't know who he gives them to. Yi Jioga told them what the evil cultivator said, but he didn't tell them about Yi Yunji. People die for wealth. She didn't want to challenge Wan Ziyang and Bai Songling's character with the treasure map. They could work together to deal with the Su family, but it was still to be seen whether they should go treasure hunting together. Chapter 51. Su family actually dared to collude with evil cultivators, they deserve to die. Wan Ziyang gnashed his teeth, he hated them to the bone. Although Tsang continent respected spirit practitioners, there were always some people who would use all kinds of evil methods to quickly increase their cultivation. These people were evil cultivators. No wonder the Su family can expand their business to such a large scale. It turns out that they have other connections, Bai Songling said thoughtfully. What do you mean? Yi Jioga asked. Other than Drunken Cloud Pavilion, Thunder Nation also has a few brothels that collect girls. Bai Songling couldn't help but sigh. Although they had already destroyed a few of those brothels, they would never be able to eradicate them if they didn't find the source. It seems that Su family is indeed not simple. Yi Jioga remembered his grandfather hated evil cultivators. Could his disappearance be related to Su family? Otherwise, why would Yuxuan marry Su family's daughter after his mother died? This is not the place to talk, let's go out. Bai Songling said. They had been here for a long time. If they didn't go out, they would be discovered. Let's go. Yi Jioga nodded, picked up Yurui and was about to go out. Suddenly, dozens of torches were thrown through the door, then the door was slammed shut. Not good. Bai Songling's expression changed, she quickly rushed up to open the door, only to find that it was locked. Standing below, Yi Jioga could hear the screams and the crackling sounds of the wood being burned coming from outside. The smell of smoke drifted in through the crack of the door. If this continued, they would choke to death. Both of Wan Ziyang's palms flashed with red light, he fiercely slammed the door. The wooden door was burnt into pieces by the flames, revealing a large gray stone behind it. The people outside actually moved a large stone to block the door. It must be the earth spirit. Bai Songling used her sleeve to cover her nose to prevent breathing in the smoke. Wan Ziyang didn't make a sound, palm after palm landed on the stone. They want to block us, they definitely won't let us go out, why don't we go down and see if there are any more traps? Bai Songling pulled Wan Ziyang's hand, the smoke at the door was too thick, it would be dangerous if they stayed any longer. It's useless, the bottom is made of fine steel stone, it is even more impossible to open. Wan Ziyang had already turned the basement upside down. Other than Yi Rui's secret room, there were no other secret passages. Having no other choice, Bai Songling and Wan Ziyang continued to exert their strength at the door, trying to push the big stone away. Unexpectedly, the boulder suddenly turned scarlet red. When Wan Ziyang's palm touched it, a layer of his skin was almost scalded off. The white Songling's green vines were instantly burnt. They're really generous. They actually used firestones to block the entrance. Bai Songling's expression was extremely ugly. It was all their fault for being too careless and too conceited. They thought that such a small courtyard wouldn't be able to trap the two of them. They didn't expect them to be so ruthless and use firestones to block the entrance. Although this flame stone wasn't considered a rare ore, it was still very difficult to find such a large piece. At this time, the basement was already filled with thick smoke, and the air was getting thinner. Yi Jioga bent down and covered Yi Rui's face with a handkerchief. He quickly called out to Zi Shang in his heart, "Quickly think of a way to get us out of here." "What are the benefits?" Zi Shang said slowly. "Is this the time to talk about this?" Did this fella know what it meant to be a life and death situation? Don't worry, you definitely won't die. It's hard to say for the other two. He didn't have any obligation to save the humans, pretty boy. Save the four of us. We'll let you touch us as you please. The situation was dire. Yi Jioge could only grit his teeth and offer himself. Deal. Zi Shang smiled in satisfaction, then said, actually, it's very easy to break out of this situation. You just need to use your blood to undo the seal on the lightning fire needle. Then you'll be able to use the Red Lotus lightning fire's aura to shatter that piece of flame stone. Yi Jioge suddenly felt humiliated. The treasure was with her, but she still wanted to cry and beg Zi Shang. However, the heart of the Tree of God is a treasure of the demon race. It doesn't matter if you condense it into purple lightning wood or lightning fire needle. But if someone discovers that it contains the Red Lotus lightning fire, not only will the human race attack you, even the demon race will not let you off. Zi Shang's words made Yi Jioge's heart sink. You have a treasure but can't use it. You're cheating me. It's okay, Zi Shang kindly explained, just remember to kill them after you use it. Yi Jioge looked towards the door. Although Wan Zhang and Bai Songling were coughing from the smoke, they still desperately used their spiritual energy to hit the stone. The two of them didn't believe in fate. Even if they were to die, they would struggle until the last second. Yi Jioge had a good impression of the two of them. He might need their help in many things in the future. He definitely couldn't kill them, but he could knock them unconscious. Yi Jioge quietly came behind the two of them and hit them on the back of the head without hesitation. Wan Zhang and Bai Songling were completely focused on breaking out of this situation. They didn't expect Yi Jioge to sneak attack them from behind. They immediately fainted. Yi Jioge threw the two of them into the basement. Then, he pierced the lightning fire needle into his index finger and said in his heart, "Unseal the Red Lotus lightning fire."